They try to silence the truth we shout, but we're still here, we're still calling out. Corruption hides behind a badge and name. We light the fire, expose the shame. We're justice seekers, we'll fight the fight for every voice lost in the night. My life mattered is the cry we sing for the ones they tried to bury within. It's just us, we're a movement wide. Together we rise, won't run nor hide. The stories echo, the pain runs deep. For stolen lives we can't just weep. Elected power but their hearts are cold. We'll bring the truth, let it be told. We're justice seekers, we'll fight the fight for every voice lost in the night. My life mattered is the cry we sing for the ones they tried to bury within. It's just us, we're a movement wide. Together we rise, won't run nor hide. We're justice seekers, we'll fight the fight for heroes, undo the harm. Calling out corruption, we'll stand tall for justice and truth, we'll risk it all. My life mattered is the cry we sing. Together we rise, let freedom ring.
Hi there, everyone. So glad to see you all again. Welcome back to our Wednesday edition of Social Change Warriors. This is our night for women empowerment, standing for victims of domestic homicide, unsolved domestic homicide, missing women who were unalived by their husbands, boyfriends, significant others, and our night to talk about anything to do with women. So if you ever have a topic that you'd like me to discuss, health, fitness, what's out there in the world right now where women are concerned, we can literally talk about anything on Wednesday nights, because Wednesdays is our night just to chat and visit and complain and bitch. That's why we're called the Angry Bitch Club on Wednesday nights, because we have things to say and we want to say them. So this is your platform. You are allowed to come up on the platform with me if you'd like. For those of you that have been following the Karen Reed, John O'Keefe case, as Judge Bev used to say, I'll allow it. And you're allowed to call in if you'd like to do that. And if you just want to be in our friend zone, which is called the chat box for most of you that follow live streaming and trials, we call it the friend zone. So welcome to Screaming Daisies tonight. I love it. I love that screen name you have. Thank you so much for coming tonight and for advocating for Sara Ebersole. Sara is our main focus tonight. Again, we have covered her many nights. We have covered her case, her tragic missing persons case. She is a human being, a mother. We call them cases because we have to give them a name. We have 18 victims right now that we've been advocating for a year. But I always want to remind myself and everybody, this is a human life. Sara's missing. Her family is missing her. They haven't seen her in over 2.5 years. She's a mother, a sister, a friend, a daughter, and a coworker to many. So we are going to revisit her missing persons case tonight and honor the life of Sara Ebersole and talk about why her case is still not solved, possibly. Before we do that, I just want to remind all of you again that we are a nonprofit. We are hopefully applying to be a nonprofit soon, but we are currently just a volunteer organization. I spend my time looking into unsolved homicides for mainly domestic violence victims, but also, if I come across a family or they come across me, I'm more than willing to advocate for them and talk about their loved one. So Wednesdays is primarily, as I said, our night for domestic violence, homicide, and domestic violence cases that have not been solved. And in many cases, the woman is still missing, which is a travesty for their family and very, very painful. The other nights of the week, we are also advocating, like I said, for other victims, not just women. It can be anybody who's been a victim of a homicide and their case is unsolved. So if you're interested, if you know someone, if you have a family member who's has been a victim of a homicide and it's not solved, and you're having issues with your local police department or your local sheriff's department, and you want us to help look into the case, please let me know. Most of you that are with me and have been with me for the past year know that I'm a retired police officer from Wisconsin and a master's degree social worker. Community social work and domestic violence were my specialties. I'm using my past experiences now to help families advocate for their loved one. So Wednesdays is our night. Bees got a buzz. We are the angry bees on Wednesdays. We are justifiably angry because many of these cases could have and should have been solved, but there's been issues with evidence, police doing their job or not doing their job, witnesses not telling the truth, you name it, a whole sorted bunch of crap that these families have had to go through, still waiting for justice for their loved ones. So I remember this from a while back when I've been following the Karen Reed case. My opinion on it, most of you know, is that she did not hit John O'Keefe with her car and she was wrongly arrested and wrongfully tried. And gratefully, after 2 trials, won a hung jury and now a jury that has acquitted her. She is free. And that is good because there wasn't enough evidence to convict her in the first place. And in the second place, 85% of the country didn't believe that she hit him with her car based on science and evidence. This was a picture that somebody screen grabbed while the trial was still going on. It was during a time when one of the very nefarious, in my opinion, Massachusetts State Police sergeants, I believe he's a sergeant, maybe a lieutenant now, don't remember, but I don't want to know much about him. I can't stand him. I can't stand him, as my famous line from our Singing in the Rain goes. So this is someone I follow on Twitter X. His screen name is Joe Flipperhead. He's very good with following the Karen Reed trial and hopefully now justice for John O'Keefe as we move into what Julie and I on Friday nights are calling phase 2. Where's the justice now for John O'Keefe? When are you going to start reinvestigating his death? And someone caught her with her finger up like that. Of course, a lot of people are saying she was scratching her eye. Well, I don't know. But I like to think not, that was her little way of telling this lying POS of a terrible police officer what she thinks of him. So she qualifies for our angry bitch of the week, in my opinion, for that. Clever little maneuver that she snuck in there. So we stand with victims of domestic abuse, not just Wednesdays, but every day of the week. And in October, we'll be rounding back around to Domestic Violence Awareness Month, where we'll be bringing on some special guests, survivors of domestic violence, homicide, and domestic violence, to tell you their stories and advocate for more knowledge on domestic violence. It is a solvable problem. Most men commit domestic violence. It's a very high number opposed to women. It's in the 80 to 90 percentile of domestic violence is man on woman, but it is a curable disease because it really is a disease of violence, of temper control, of anger management. And in most cases, it can be reversed. Now, obviously, when it goes to homicide, when the man has made some horrible decision that however he makes that during his time of rage to unalive his wife or fiance or girlfriend or ex-wife or ex-girlfriend, that is no longer survivable. We want to catch you. We want you to go to trial or plead guilty and go to jail for your crime. So there are things that just can't be undone, can't be fixed. But in many cases, domestic violence is reversible, and men can get treatment and intensive therapy to manage their anger so they no longer strike out at their wives. But it's a lot, and men have to commit to it. So I'm not trying to say that this is an easy occurrence to fix, but it can be. And what we're dealing with right now is an epidemic against women. We are dealing with every 9 seconds a woman is being beaten. So let's just count that out. Let's just count that out together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Bam. Somebody just got a face punch or a strike or a blow or a kick or a punch. Every 9 seconds. These are very solid statistics that many people with PhDs and doctorates study cases of domestic violence. And I've been on I've done research papers on this topic, and I've also read much information on this topic. This is a very solid statistic. I share statistics with you at times because they help us understand the scope of the problem. But these are still human beings. These are women being beaten every 9 seconds, and it's not acceptable. As a society, we have to get involved. It's not the 60s anymore, the 70s, when it was status quo that even police officers didn't get involved. That what goes on between a man and a woman who are married in a contract with God is none of our business. Well, that was always BS. It'll always be BS. It's always our business if a woman is getting beaten and slapped around and potentially M-worded, unalived, because it escalates to such a dangerous place. So it's always been our business. It'll always be our business. And we have to get involved. We have to help women who are being beaten on a regular basis, not just physically, but mentally as well, with verbal abuse. So our hashtag for Social Change Warriors for all of our victims is My Life Mattered, because we believe that if they could tell you anything, or if they could tell the perpetrator of their unaliving anything, they would say to them, my life mattered. Of all the domestic violence female homicides in 2018, 92% of victims were killed by a man they knew. So that means it was a friend, a family member, somebody in their close preview. And of that 92%, 63% were killed by current husbands, boyfriends, or exes. That's a staggering number. Horrific for women. Like I said, this is an epidemic of violence against women, and we have to band together as communities and put a stop to this as soon as possible. So we have several of our victims that we've been advocating for that include Sara Ebersole, who we're going to be focusing in on tonight. One of them is Sandra Birchmore, and those of you that follow the Karen Reed, John O'Keefe case, you know that this is a close. Sandra was actually found unalived in her apartment in Canton, Massachusetts, where John was also found unalived. And she was unalived by a Stoughton police officer. He was a Stoughton police officer at the time. We believe, allegedly, he's been arrested. The evidence is pointing in his direction, to be arrested. He's still in jail, has not bonded out, and has not even been to a hearing yet. But that hearing is coming up in August. So we'll be having more updates next week on Sandra Birchmore and justice for Sandra Birchmore. We've had one of her main advocates with us live before, giving us updates and sharing. And I reach out to her when I feel she has time to talk to me. She's a very busy lady, for updates that I may not be aware of. So I'll keep you updated on the travesty. We have live streamed about Sandra Birchmore, and when Mizzy was with us, you can go on our live stream under the live tab, and you can find our live on Sandra Birchmore if you are not familiar with her tragic grooming by police officers and her ultimate unaliving. She was actually framed for her own unaliving, and it was stood that way for over 2 years until evidence was found and investigated by the FBI. So this is a case with a lot of just horrible details and a lot of moving parts and a lot of people involved. So we'll do a review on this when we find out more about the hearing that's coming up soon. I believe it's the first week in August. So we'll talk much more about Sandra Birchmore again next week. Thank you to everyone that's advocating for her. And this is Mizzy, one of her main lead advocates in the Stoughton area. So let's go back to our wonderful mother, Sandra. Sara Ebersole. This is a case that has truly broken many of our hearts, those of us that have been following along with Sara's sister, Michelle, who has been her lead advocate for justice for her missing sister, to find her missing sister, and however that looks now, right? It's scary either way. It's very scary to think of that she's been missing for 2.5 years. And what does that mean? Does that mean she's no longer alive? Does that mean she possibly could have been kidnapped and potentially trafficked? She was the prime age for it. She had the looks for it, from what I've read regarding who they look for and who they try to traffic, is that right around in that age group, anywhere from 16 to 27, 28. It's terrifying how much trafficking is going on of young women and including minors in our country, boys and girls. So it's just disgusting and despicable. And again, as a community, we have to rise up and work with local law enforcement and local nonprofits who are trying to stamp out this type of just heinous behavior and illegal activity. Most of you that have been following this case along with Michelle, her Facebook page is very active. So please go to Michelle's Facebook page. I'm hoping that one of Sara's soldiers is joining us tonight. So if you give me a second, I'm just going to check my private messenger here and see if I have any messages from her to see if she's able to join us tonight. And then I'll let you know if she's having any technical issues. She can let me know if she's coming tonight or not. She may not be able to make it. If not, we'll hopefully be able to speak with her another time. She's been very active in standouts and doing as much as she can to talk about and advocate for Sara. I think it'd be good just to go back. Let me share my screen here with you and just go back and refresh a little bit. So stand by. I'm going to pull up a screen for you. I'm just going to mute a minute because my puppy is being vocal. So I will be right with you. I'm going to share this slide deck that I made of Sara's case back when I first learned of it via meeting Michelle. And I always thank the anonymous, I believe, person, because I know I just had a screen name for them. And I apologize because it's been a while and I don't recall it right now. But someone from the Karen Reed case, who's a Free Karen Reed supporter, before her trial and now happy that she is free and is hoping for justice for John O'Keefe. She was the one that told me about this case. And I reached out to Michelle, Sara's sister. I am currently living not too far away from Ocala. I'm only about maybe 2 hours. It's to my west, Marion County. I'm in Volusia County a good portion of the time. I also go back and forth to my home state of Wisconsin, as most of you know. So I want to thank her again, because I would maybe not have known about this because the media isn't really following this any longer, Sara's disappearance. It's been such a long time, 2.5 years for a missing person. And if you saw in the beginning, let me pop that back up here for you. Think I have, well, I don't see it now. I have a statistic on, let me see if I can find that for you. I have a statistic on missing. Oh, these are just some other cases I wanted to show you. I'll have to look for it. It's something like 70% of missing are found within a month. And many return home on their own. They've walked off and left. Yes, Screaming Daisy, you are a couple hours south. Okay, you're not far from me then either. So we're kind of in a triangle, aren't we, Screaming Daisies? You, me, and where Sara was last seen and where she was living. So I wanted to read this poem to you because I saw this today and it really hit home for me with all of the different, oh gosh, all the families that we've been advocating for. And I got a message from YouTube today that we're coming up on our year anniversary. So I just want to thank you all again for subscribing and for being present with me on Wednesdays and Thursdays and every Friday. I appreciate you all so much that you're willing to stand for victims of homicide and their families and advocate for justice for them. And we'll have a special episode coming up celebrating our 1 year of advocacy. And I want to celebrate all of you for taking time out of your busy schedules and all of the various hobbies that you all have and jobs and children and families to advocate for people that you've never met, that you don't know, or maybe some of you do know them, or you know a family member or friend. But regardless, you take the time out to follow their cases and follow their journeys, their families' journeys to justice. And I truly, really appreciate that. Everyone tells me I'll be okay eventually, and maybe I will. But what they don't understand is that I don't just lose someone. I lost my place, my comfort, the person I trusted with everything. You were home to me, and now I feel like I'm always standing just outside the door, trying to find my way back to something that doesn't exist anymore. That is how all of us feel when we've lost a loved one, whether it was through natural causes, old age, disease, an accident, or in this case, a missing person or a homicide of our loved one. But the egregious nature of when someone takes someone else's life, it can't be compared to anything. It can't be explained. I've met many families through my years as a police officer and an advocate for domestic violence, working in domestic violence shelters. And I am here to tell you, it is a pain that can't be described. I'm not trying to lessen your pain of losing a loved one via natural causes or old age or in an accident. I lost my grandfather. He was hit by a car. It's a tragedy. My father died of cancer when I was 19. I know what tragedy feels like, but this is a level of tragedy that is not easy to explain when someone has been unalived by someone else and you're left with no justice for your person. So when I saw this poem today, I wanted to share it with all of you because it resonates with all of us. I'm happy to say that we have Karen with us, and I'm going to bring her up to the stage if she's ready. I'll bring her up here with. Hi, Karen.
Hi, how are you?
I'm hanging in there, Karen. How are you?
Good, good.
Your hair is beautiful. I love the way you're wearing it today.
Thank you.
I'm so happy you could join me. I was so happy to meet you when I
It
came to
took
the
me a minute to figure out how to get in. It kept saying you're here, but you're not here. But
Oh,
I
no.
got
Well, sometimes that happens when it's trying to get you backstage on the platform. I was checking my messages to see if you were having a tech issue because I know it can happen. I've had it happen to me too when I've joined others' live streams before. But I'm
this is
really
my first.
well, good. Welcome aboard. You look great. You sound great. And I was really happy to get to meet you when I attended the standout for Justice for Sara for searching for her when I met you over in Ocala.
Absolutely. The same.
Can you
Glad to
share
meet
with
you.
us? Thank you. And can you share with us a little bit how you got involved with? I call you Sarah. I call all of you Sarah's soldiers because you're all working
That's
so
fun.
tirelessly to find her and to locate her and to get justice for her and for Michelle, Sarah's sister. Let us know how you got involved with this justice.
I got involved because this is in my neck of the woods, and there's a lot of people that go missing around here, and nothing's ever said about it. I mean, I don't even know that half of them even get a flyer made by our sheriff's department. And so there was just something about this one that resonated with me. I have a young cousin that left her job. Um, it's been over 40 years ago now, and she never made it home. So this just really touched home for me.
Yeah.
And it just didn't make sense that she went not even 2 blocks
Right.
and then couldn't even get a mile and a half home safely. So, what really upsets me the most about this case is I feel like our sheriff's office decided um, she wasn't worth looking for. Like we could just write her off. She was an exotic dancer. They assumed because of the crowd that she met that night that she too must be a drug addict, which she was not.
Right.
And they made a lot of assumptions instead of doing their job. Their job is to serve and protect. It
Correct.
doesn't matter who you are, what you do. If you need their protection, that's their job. And
Exactly.
they failed. They failed miserably. And they keep failing. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
not like, okay, well, we made a mistake. Let's start over. Now it's we messed up. Let's cover up
Mm-hmm.
and let's make Michelle our target
Yeah.
because those first 48 hours when Sarah first went missing, it could have changed everything
Oh,
had they taken it
absolutely. It's
seriously.
the most crucial time for a missing person
And
is
they
that.
wasted
Yes,
them. They wasted them. And then, because the sister refuses to sit down and be quiet, they're after her now.
right.
And I just want to put this out here, and this is really why I came on this podcast, because this is not anything I would normally do.
I
But
appreciate it.
I attended court for a restraining order, and I wasn't allowed in the courtroom, so I sat out in the hallway for 5 hours. And I did get to witness the Detective Stiff out there waiting his turn to be a witness against Michelle. Now, how is that when he is the lead detective on her missing sister's case? How can he go into court against a family victim and stand for someone that we have proof, Joseph Mayton Merlin, Joseph Merlin Mayton? I'm not afraid to say his name. I will continue to say his name. I am not under a restraining order, but this has put the case in another situation where um, it feels like they just keep covering up for people that need to be brought in. Michelle sat for 5 hours with a lawyer trying to defend herself for trying to keep her sister's daughter safe, who at that time was 5 years old. This baby's mother has been missing since she was three. Three. And I have seen video after video of him knocking the phone out of Sarah's hand when Sarah's trying to let her baby talk to her auntie Michelle. I've seen it myself. I've seen this man on March 31st of 2023
Karen,
with
before
his
you, I appreciate this information because some of this I'm not aware of and haven't heard. Before we go there, I just want to quickly bring up real quickly. I want to talk a little bit about, let me add, I want to just talk a little bit about what happened to Sarah that night. For those of us that are joining us for the first time, just so we can
okay.
give them some context to what is happening. So this is Sara Ebersole. She was 26 years old when she went missing, literally into thin air is how it seems. And you heard Karen say she literally was within a mile of where she was living. She was last seen at a gas station on video at just blocks from the house where she was then last seen in photos partying with several people that lived in this duplex, which was only blocks away from the gas station, which was only maybe a circle mile or two from where she lived. And so how does someone vibrant, alive, partying with some people go completely missing without a trace? It has literally never made any sense whatsoever. So early on in the investigation, as Karen said, they treated Sarah like she was just some fly by night girl who worked at an exotic dancing club who would just disappear and not tell her family where she was, or go off binging, or go off on a bender somewhere. And that wasn't her. They didn't take the time to interview the appropriate people to get to know her. You have to understand someone's backstory. That's a very important part of first looking for a missing person, is to understand their habits. And do they regularly call their sister? Do they regularly check in with their daughter or their family or their roommate? If they would have done all that, they would know that Sarah doesn't run off and disappear, that she just doesn't just go off with friends and not contact family and let them know she's okay. So as Karen was saying, they really made a royal mistake in the first 48 to 72 hours of her disappearance, when crucial evidence could be destroyed by the people that we now believe injured her, hurt her, or was she kidnapped? Was she taken by someone? And is she being trafficked somewhere today? So it took a whole year before they even made this gentleman here on the screen a person of interest, and eventually he was arrested for not cooperating with the investigation and lying about the status of his cell phone. Why in the world did it take them that long to figure all this out? And then who Karen's been talking about is Joe Mayton, who is the biological father, so we have been told, allegedly, of Cora, who Dahlia was her given name by her mother, and Joseph Mayton, and this is all factual. So Joseph, I know you like to tune in, and I know you like to harass me a little bit, but I'm not saying anything that's not factual about you. I'm not saying anything that isn't on paper about you. I'm not
Oh, you
defaming.
here, Joe? Hi, Joe. Because I will remain your worst nightmare. Just so you
Yes.
know, if I'm here.
Yeah. So
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
he's aware of my channel, and he's aware that I advocate for victims that are missing and of homicide. And he's aware that I've spoken on him, but I've only spoken truth and facts. So I'm saying allegedly because I've never seen any proof, DNA proof, that Joe is the father of Delia. So if that's out there, I welcome it. But I'm saying allegedly. So he literally was trying to date Sara when she was 15 years old, and he was a grown man. He was in his 30s. So that's all factual. And from that time forward, when Sara did agree to date him and be his girlfriend, she was basically under his control. Sara really had no young adult life whatsoever, based on all the information that Michelle has provided and that we were able to garner through various restraining orders and emails and text messages that Sara sent to her sister and sent to this man. He was constantly basically a thorn in her side, trying to manipulate her, control her. All the signs of domestic abuse were there. It's on paper. And that's obviously Sara's side of the story, but that's the side that makes the most sense, given that she is the one that is missing and has been missing for 2.5 years. During that struggle of her life with Joe, somehow he convinced her through, it sounds like from what I've read, manipulation, and she gave up the custody of her daughter to this man, who then completely disavowed any association with her and would not cooperate with her to see her child, was not cooperating with the custody arrangements that the judge had made for her to see her child. There is video evidence of constantly him battling with her to see her daughter, and even a video that was recently posted on Facebook of him practically trying to run her over because she's trying to get him to get the child in the car seat properly. And he wasn't happy about that, because typically abusive men want to be in control of everything, and they're never going to listen to any suggestions or advice whatsoever from the mother of the child. And that's what appeared to be happening throughout the child's life. She was, I believe, 3.5, almost 4, when her mother went missing. And those 4 years of co-parenting, which they really weren't co-parenting. Once Joe got custody by the courts, he was in control, and Sara really never had a say about how long she saw her daughter, when she saw her, constantly begging to see her. Now, if that sounds like a healthy relationship to you, and why the police didn't consider that these are the last 2 people that probably saw Sara alive, in my humble opinion. We know by phone evidence that definitely the man at the bottom, Tyrone Mormon, was called over to the residence by one of the people that Sara was partying with, who is Bubba. So let me go back and just give you a little, actually, let me grab Sara's, let's see here. Let me grab Sara's, I've got to hang on a second, guys. I've got to pull some of these others off of my stage here for a minute in order to get to the one. I want to share with you some photos of the night she went missing and some of the people that she was with. So let me take some of these other off the stage. It only lets me have so many on the stage. So stand by a second and I'll bring up our slide deck on Sara. All right.
So why do you do that? Then there we go.
Yeah, here we go. So Tyrone Mormon is the person of interest that I've been speaking of. The Marion County Sheriff made him a person of interest based on cell phone records. So the night that Sara went missing, she was, these are just some pictures of standouts that the Sara's soldiers have had for Sara, because Tyrone, I said, based on phone records, he had to know where he left her, where he dropped her off. These are just some more details of her tattoos, of how her nails look. This was out way back in the beginning in case anybody saw her or recognized any of this. This is her sister, who I give away a Warrior Princess of the Week award. And she's won that many times for her constant everyday battle to get justice. So on March 2nd, 2023, Sara's sister said that she last messaged her, that she got a message from Sara saying that she was getting into a random truck with some cowboys and that she hoped they would take her for a ride. So it sounds like she was just being silly and goofy and playful with her sister, that this is 26-year-old speak for, I'm going to go party with some guys and hang out for the night. But this was typical. Like I said, this is where the police really screwed up, Karen, because Michelle has very honestly told us that her sister basically always checked in with her and told her where she was so she wouldn't worry about her. She wasn't the type of person to go off and disappear for days on end. So for her not to be heard of or seen in those first 24 hours was very unusual. And that should have been a warning
It's
sign.
obvious.
Right.
I just want to break in. It's obvious from that night and from since Michelle has gotten into Sara's iCloud that Sara constantly takes pictures. Everything in her life is in a picture. Everything in her life up that night, up to 1:24 a.m., was in photos. After 1:24 a.m., when she left Tisha and Jimmy's house to go to Bubba's side of the house, there is not one photo, not with her in Bubba's area, not
Right.
with her with Tyrone, and
And
why
that doesn't really make a lot of
those
sense.
were white. Those were white, or she was knocked out. There's
Right.
something very suspicious about that right there, and I just want to get that out there because
Thank
she
you.
was always on her social media. Always. We could track her every move, even if we weren't on the phone with her. She took live photos that told us where she was constantly. And that, unfortunately, is how Joseph Mason tracked her. And that is part of her demise, I am sure.
Yes, I agree with you. It's a lot of this doesn't make any sense. The 1 + 1 does not equal 2 in any of this. This is the Circle K in Reddick where there was a picture taken of her and Bubba. This is James Robinson. He is the person she was friendly with and partying with. They got a ride from one of James' coworkers / friends, Leonard Anderson, dropped them off in a Chevy Silverado pickup truck at this residence where Bubba was living. And it was a duplex. So on the other side was a couple. This was the truck that in the beginning they were concerned about, but Leonard was ruled out as having anything to do with Sara's disappearance. He was literally just a ride for Bubba and Sara to go over to this house. They worked together and are friends. They worked together for a while at this dollar store. This is a map of the area. This is a small area outside of Ocala, very rural. It's a tiny little area, Reddick. There's a dollar store, there's a gas station, there's a few other places, but it's just very small. And most people that live in this area are bound to run into each other from time to time at either the dollar store, or the gas station, or any other area spots in the area. One of the things that was very concerning to me is that the Marion County Sheriff's Department did not update Sara's missing flyer for an entire year. And to me, that made literally no sense. How do you not update a missing flyer when you no longer believe that this truck is an object of interest? It took Michelle locating the truck, talking to the person, and posting this on April 10th of 2023, about the Chevy Silverado, but then they still continued to leave it on the missing flyer for at least a year after that, which that didn't make a lot of sense. Who is in charge of updating their missing flyers? Why would they want a truck out there on a missing flyer that is no longer of concern? That you've got people looking for something that shouldn't be looked for, which is a waste of time when other things could be more important. So that to me was right out of the gate very disturbing. This was the duplex that was out in the country. Apparently it was owned by Tisha, one of the gals that she was partying with that night's grandmother. So this was Tisha's grandmother's property, and Tisha was allowing her boyfriend to stay there with her. And then the other side was being rented out to James Bubba Robinson. So this has always been my opinion. And Karen, I want your opinion on this. Michelle was pretty convinced in the beginning that Sara had never met Bubba, had never met Tisha, and had never met James. Being an ex-cop, I'm a lot more cynical, and I look at things differently maybe than people who never worked in the field of law enforcement. But I really had a hard time believing that Sara had never laid eyes on Bubba before, that she just got into that truck with Bubba and took a ride to this house 2 blocks away and never met him, never saw him. What is your thought on that?
I can't really speak on that because I don't know. Like you said, Reddick is really small. She might have seen him in the Dodge General, not spoken to him. She may have seen him in the gas station in passing and not spoke to him. And you just get familiar seeing people in your neighborhood.
Right.
And so maybe that's what happened. And he had never, if that is how she came about ever knowing him or seeing him or feeling comfortable in his presence, it was because he didn't have a demeanor that made her feel unsafe.
Right.
Like,
right. From all accounts, I mean, pretty nice.
The photo taken of them, yes, he looks wild-eyed in that. But sometimes some people are not photogenic for one, and another thing is sometimes the camera catches you at the worst moment.
Right. But he definitely doesn't look like he's a threat to me either in this photo. I mean, and especially if in person, if he was jovial and friendly, and if she had seen him before, I'm guessing at the dollar store where he worked, they might have had a conversation. They might have spoken. For all we know, he went to the.
He just looks like like the teddy bear next door that if you needed help, he would help you. Like, he doesn't look threatening in any type of sort of way. He doesn't even have a demeanor that in the way that he comes across when he talks or anything that would make you think this is a threatening guy. Like I mean, I've been in threatening relationships. I would look at this guy and think he was safe too. Mm-hmm. And then you have a young girl. She's a young girl that she isn't jaded by life yet. And she's been fortunate that she hasn't run into someone that would take advantage of her kindness. Right. I mean, because she was kind and got in the car with someone that she didn't know doesn't mean she doesn't deserve to be here today. It doesn't mean that her daughter doesn't deserve to see her mother. Exactly. And it doesn't mean that her auntie shouldn't be able to see her, that she shouldn't be able to know where she is, that she shouldn't be able to know that she is safe, that she is in school, that she is getting what she needed. Because we've heard a lot of things, and we've actually seen proof of a lot of things that I can't share. But I can only tell you this child's in danger, and no one is doing anything about that either. So soon we'll have 2 victims. And that's how I feel about that. And he bounces around so nobody can keep track of him. And now she can't even speak his name. And the damn detective looking for this baby's mother is the reason this baby doesn't have her auntie helping her. Exactly. How is that legal?
We're going to get to that right now. I just wanted to finish up with the beginning part of what happened. So that night, like you said, Sara liked taking pictures and documenting when she was having fun. So this is just I call them the young adults. To me, they're kids, but young adults hanging out on James Schaller, who is here in the white T-shirt. Tisha McDermott is here with the blonde hair. Both were cooperative with the police. James Bubba here is being silly and has the cowboy hat tipped down. And this is Sara. So they were taking photos when she first got there of their hanging out together. Then they moved outside at some point and they were outside with the dog. It looks like someone had a dog. I don't know if it was James and Tisha's or if it was just a neighborhood dog, but they were all hanging out, documenting their fun time together. So at some point, supposedly Sara was waiting for a ride, and I think it was originally thought that it was an actual Uber driver, that she had contacted an Uber driver because she used Uber drivers, possibly Lyft drivers, for getting home from the club where she was an exotic dancer. I also think it's possible that James had been to the club and that he knew who Sara was. I think that's very possible as well. So James Robinson stated to authorities in a video interview that Tyrone Mormon was hanging out at the house with him and that he offered to give, and this is Michelle's words, my sister a ride home. But after the phone records came out, it was proven that Bubba contacted Tyrone and said, hey, something to the effect of, hey, Sara's over here. Do you want to come and hang out? Now that led me to believe that they both knew who Sara was prior to her. That was kind of the clue to me, that either they had been to the club and seen her dance, or they had run into her at a local tavern or at the dollar store or the gas station, or however you want to look at it. But that, to me, that text saying something to the effect of, hey, Sara's here. Do you want to come and hang out with her? That to me means that they both knew exactly who she was, or at least had an idea of who she was and where she worked. So Tyrone's phone did show that he was at this Reddick house and that he was there on the side of the duplex with Bubba and with Sara. And then at some point she left with Tyrone because their phones pinged together at the same gas station back down on the corner where it all started. And then her phone just goes dark. Her phone goes dark for us. I mean, for pictures and stuff, it went dark much earlier, like approximately, I think 3:45. She was still on her YouTube. And then her phone stops having any interaction that Michelle could see when she looked into it. But we now know that when the police got the phone records, that her phone and Tyrone's phone were in the same car at the same time at roughly between 4 and 5 a.m. That morning. So
we just know that her phone synced with something at around 4 a.m. And we're assuming that is that her phone, Tyrone's phone, and that synced at that tower right there at the Cisco together.
Right at the corner there. That's what the police. So that's what led the police to be able to arrest Tyrone, because he didn't cooperate. He lied about his phone. He told them that it was lost. So they arrested him for not cooperating with the police investigation, and he was ended up getting time served in probation, which he has now since served. So now there is nothing that they can do right now in their minds, according to what they are telling, which they don't speak much, they don't share much, but they just keep saying that they're still working the case, that it's an open investigation. One of the things that was bothersome to many people following Sara's disappearance is that her roommate was on with us live about 3 or 4 months ago and shared with us that the shoes that are in these photos are like, they don't have a heel on the back. So they're just slip-ins and they're black. And she said that they were in the house when she got home from her veterans retreat. And she was upset because Sara wasn't there and her dogs had gone to the bathroom in the house because they hadn't been let out for so long. And she thought Sara just didn't come home from wherever she was and was being a rude roommate by not letting her dogs out, because at that moment she didn't think she was missing or that anything bad had happened to her. And she said that the shoes were in the house, that she recognized the shoes. So how did Sara go from having these shoes on in these pictures at the Reddick house to the shoes being back at her house, if those are indeed the correct shoes? So Michelle tells us my sister's shoes were inside her own residence, but she's but she's wearing them in all the photos. Her cigarettes and lighter were outside of the home, and the 2 large dogs were still inside the residence. Marion County Sheriff only has a triangulation of her phone that's missing with her. The phone was never recovered. The only property my sister had on her was her clothing, cell phone, and a clutch wallet. And there is no further timeline after that. The last time her phone interacted with anything was at roughly 3:45, 4 a.m. And then with the police having it pinging over at that gas station where all of this started. So these are just photos, up close photos of Sara, in case any of you think you may have seen her or saw her during that time or have any information whatsoever about her disappearance. Whoops. Hang on a second. We disappeared. All right, guys, hang on. I'm not exactly sure what just happened. Sometimes crazy things happen with this platform. I probably clicked the wrong button. So the only other major detail, according to Michelle, is there was an attempt to get on Sara's Snapchat account. A code was sent to her email on March the 3rd of 2023 at 1:47 p.m. Gmail was wiped clean, and the day of March 2nd and the March 3rd was viewed. So YouTube usage shows she was looking at music videos until 2:40 a.m., which means she was still in the house at 2:40 a.m. because we know that her phone and Tyrone's didn't ping at the gas station until closer to 4. And her phone last synced at 2:57 a.m., which is interesting. So that might be around the time that she got into this Uber with Tyrone, and she might have synced in his car, possibly. Karen, is that a possibility that we're thinking of?
I don't know. The story is that lately someone has coming out with a lot of interviews that they are posting online, and
Yes.
you know, what he told people back then and what is coming up on these videos that he's now posting online don't coincide. He told us a long time ago that he was told that Sara was carried out by her arms and legs by Bubba and Tyrone.
I'm glad you brought that up. Let me read this to you, though. I'm glad you brought that up. Hang on. I'm going to pull this up. So supposedly, I read on his Facebook page, this is a private investigator who was looking into the case about a year and a half ago. He was looking into it. The family wasn't paying him. He was looking into it pro bono, he said, because he was cared about the case and was interested in what happened to this young woman, and spent a lot of. That's his.
He cares about making a name for himself, but yeah,
right.
that's his.
Right. I'm just saying what he said. Yeah. What he said. So let me read to you what he shared on his page had to do with James Schaller. So James Schaller, as I said, was the man living with Tisha. They were living on the other half of the duplex, and they Tisha says she never knew Tyrone Mormon, had never seen him before, but that she gave a description that fit him as to the person she saw, and the color of the car fit the color of his girlfriend's car that she saw Sara being basically carried out and put into this car. Now, Eric, on his page, the private investigator, he tells us that someone in jail, a CI, confided in him that, and he posted this, so I'm not giving out any information that has not already been made public. This was already made public on his own Facebook page, that James Schaller, and you know, people in prison talk, people in jail talk, and James Schaller is in and out of jail constantly. He has a history of theft, burglary, drugs, and he's in and out of jail a lot. So he's not unfamiliar with jail speak and talking to other inmates. He told the CI, who then told Eric, so this is third hand, but he told him that he saw James Bubba Robinson and Tyrone Mormon carrying Sara out to the car as if she was incapacitated in some way, and then putting her in the car. And Tisha, in her interview, says, and has always been cooperative, I may add. So thank you, Tisha, for being cooperative. She said in her interview with the PI, and I don't know about her interview with the police because that's all been redacted from the police reports that I have. But she said in her interview with Eric that she witnessed this as well, and that she thought she heard a female voice, not Sarah's, in the car with Sarah. So I do believe that she's telling the truth based on I talked to a couple of the sergeants and they informed me that I was correct on that, and that they also do believe that there was another. They did not indicate if it was a male or a female, but that there was another person in the car with Tyrone when he came to get Sarah that night. So I asked them, I said, so do you know who this person is? Were you able to have Tyrone should have told you the truth when you had him in custody. Who was this person in the car? They told me they couldn't tell me the name of the person, but that person was no longer alive. So that sent a chill up my spine, because one thing we haven't shared with you again tonight is that Bubba is no longer alive. He apparently—
That's two witnesses no
correct.
longer alive.
Bubba allegedly overdosed, but Bubba was not, according to his family, a big drug user. So how in the world did that happen? Bubba, 6 to 8 months, I don't have the exact date of his passing, but it was 6 to 8 months after Sarah went missing that Bubba was found unresponsive where he was living. He was no longer living in that duplex. He was living with someone else, and he was found unresponsive. And then I believe that his cause of death was a drug overdose. Then now it's being told to me by Marion County Sheriffs that whoever was in that car with Tyrone when he came to hang out with Sarah that night, that they are no longer alive. And so I'm very baffled by this, that you've got two witnesses that are not here anymore. So now we're only left with Tisha McDermott and James Schaller as witnesses, and Tyrone Mormon. So we're left with only 3 people that were in Sarah's presence that night. The other 2 are unalive, have died, and Sarah is missing, presumed to be dead at this point, sadly. And so James Schaller, if she's not conscious when you're taking her out, and if she didn't have her shoes on, how did her shoes then get to her residence? Did they go to her residence? Did they take her there? And then from there, did they alert Joe that Sarah is
Well, the story is
unconscious?
that they left and then they came back. They left and they were gone 10 to 20 minutes and they came back. So we thought maybe they went to Sarah's house. She realized she forgot her wallet or her phone and they went back for them. But we're not certain.
Right. That's right. That's a theory, though. And that's a good theory, because if you think about it, Sarah did not live very far from there. And if she woke up, if she wasn't like completely unconscious, if she had either taken something she wasn't used to taking, if they had coerced her or convinced her to try something. Now, Tisha admitted that they were smoking pot and that there was meth involved in that house that night. And according to Michelle, Sarah had never done any meth, that she might have done pot once in a while, and she drank, but never did meth. So if they did convince her to try meth that night, that could have had a horrible effect on her. And she might have been somewhat out of it. And that's why they had to carry her to the car to drive her home.
Well, from what I understand from people that take meth and from what I've seen of them around here, they don't go to sleep. So, and that's pretty much what everybody said. There's no way she went in that bedroom and smoked meth with Tisha and then went to sleep. That's just not what you do. Usually when you take meth, from what I understand, then they have to take a downer to even go to sleep.
Right.
So I think she went in there and smoked a joint that perhaps was laced with fentanyl, not meth.
Possibly. Yeah, it's anything's possible, because James and Tisha.
Well, fentanyl at that time, fentanyl was passing around and killing kids here like weekly there for a while during those times. And my best friend who died 2 years ago, her daughter is now in Marion County Jail facing a murder charge because she sold a kid meth or some kind of pill that she knew had fentanyl in it, and she told him it had already killed people. And I don't know why they're not trying to link more deaths to her. Marion County Sheriff's Office is a fucking failure. Period. Period. So much could be
Sorry,
connected to that. I mean, just so much could.
Yeah,
I'm
I've read so many cases, so many unsolved cases in Marion County, so many disgruntled people over the way they handle cases. They treat people because they may have an addiction to drugs or addiction to alcohol as lower class citizens, when they have every right to a fair investigation if they are unalived or if they go missing, as anyone else does. So there's a lot of problems over there. Thanks for joining us, Rachel. I appreciate you so much. Thank you for liking us and subscribing. It helps our algorithm. I'm not monetized, so I don't do this for money. This is a volunteer passion project for me as a retired police officer and social worker. So I ask for your subscriptions and your likes because it helps us with getting more attention on YouTube, so that we can get more attention to all of our 18 current homicide victims and missing that we're advocating for. So thank you so much. And hello, Brittany, welcome. Never apologize. You can always catch us on the replay. That's the beauty of YouTube. We're always here for you on the replay. You can make comments on the replay. You can email me if you have questions about anything. So never worry about being on time or being here live. We love having you live because we love your comments and we love your advocacy, but we are okay with you being here on the replay as well. So like I said, Tyrone Mormon, I've always been confused by you and confused by why you are not being more cooperative. It's very clear based on phone records that you drove Sara Ebersole somewhere. So why aren't you telling us, Tyrone, where did you drive Sara Ebersole? I've had conversations.
It's such an easy question.
It's an easy
and then
question.
your picture could go away. Your kids wouldn't have to grow up looking at this billboard. And I mean, your life could go on. Like, why don't you just say, where did you take her? Did you take her to Joe? Does Joe have something on you that you're so afraid? Or is it because if you admit that you had her, your girlfriend's going to know you were with her? Your girlfriend already knows you were with her.
Right.
Like, I mean, I don't even know how she's sleeping with you right now. But I mean, that's on her. That's on her.
At this point, Karen, you're absolutely right. Everything's out there as far as the fact that Tyrone was there. I mean, he was witnessed there by 3 people, including whoever was in that car with him, who's no longer with us. So there's no more secrets where that's regarding Tyrone. So for you to...
And here's the thing. I'm sorry. But when they finally did put when they finally put Shayla's car's license plate number on a flyer, do you know they never searched that car, knowing she was in there? She had never been seen. That car sat in their front yard for at least 6 months, and they never got a warrant to search that car. Never. Now the car's just gone, and we don't know where it is.
Right. And see, that doesn't make any sense to me. How was that car not considered worthy enough to get a warrant to search? And here's the thing that really concerns me, Karen, and
how did it become trash right after Sara disappeared, like within a week? I mean, what the hell?
Well, here's what really concerns me now is that when I listened to the interviews that the private investigator put up in the last 3 days, Tisha, said some things that don't jive with what the police are saying.
Right.
Tisha said that, and when I re-listened to the interview with Tyrone's girlfriend, she actually said to them, "Do you want to search my car?" And she gave permission for her car to be searched. Now, why didn't they take advantage of a permission search? Then he goes on to say, well, not, some things, once it's gone too long, once a case is too old, then it's hard for us to get a search warrant because property can be changed and cleaned and things can be missing. And I'm thinking, wow, that doesn't make any sense, detective. She's giving you permission to search your car, regardless of how old or how long of a time has gone by. There could still be minute evidence in that car. car that you can't see, especially when it comes to blood evidence or any type of fiber or hair. So I was just completely stunned by his answer to that. And his not taking advantage of having a permission to search. What you would always search if you have permission to search.
Absolutely.
So when I heard that for the first time not that long ago, that was very surprising to me. And the other thing that's always bugged me is Michelle sharing with us that Sara had a 4-inch binder like you would use for school, where she kept all of her information on Joseph, her communication, her emails. Now, any of you that have been through a divorce and have gone through contentious custody and had to co-parent with a narcissist or co-parent
And
with
had a lawyer tell you to keep notes so that
you keep everything.
yeah.
So something that I was not happy about as well with Eric, and if you see this, Eric, or if you don't, I'm not happy with your excuse for this, because he was saying basically that why are they so concerned about this binder, and why would Joe take it? Because Joe would have copies of everything that he'd ever done with Sara. Well, that's not true. He wouldn't have copies of everything. He may have copies of court documents, but he wouldn't have copies of screenshots that she may have taken of him trying to abuse her and use his power and control over her.
Right. Right.
And notes that she may have taken herself, which I recall very clearly that she did. So I don't understand. I almost feel as if the police, the sheriffs, this private eye, that they're making excuses for Joseph. And I don't really understand this.
Well, I believe that too. I
Yeah,
believe that too. And I
you're
believe somehow if we could prove that Tyrone and Joseph know each other because they're both drug dealers, then I'm sure they've crossed the paths.
Oh,
And
they
then
did.
when I saw where they were meeting to like where I don't even want to say a PI because I don't think he qualifies as that. I think this person went out and tried to be somebody. He took some interviews and they met at a Speedy gas station, which is like it's just like Speedy for drugs. That's where everybody goes to make their deals. I mean,
Right. Rachel, thank you.
That's right here by the hotel where Joe lived. I mean, it's
In
just too small
Ocala.
of a circle. Yeah,
Yeah, it's a
it's too
very
small of a
it's
circle.
not a far stretch at all. I personally believe that Joe and Tyrone knew each other, rather however casually it was. I do believe they did. Rachel says someone has a lot of explaining to do. Yes, absolutely. And Brittany says that I believe Joe and Tyrone know each other. Yeah, I think most people, it's a 1 + 1 = 2. Now, again, these are our theories based on the evidence, based on
That's
things.
right. We don't know for sure.
Right. We don't know for sure.
No,
We're only going to
I
go.
at first thought perhaps Tyrone took her home and Joe was waiting there because if you listen to Tisha's thing, and I even believe this more now, she says she was going to meet her baby's daddy and give him money. She
Right.
says it, Baba says it, everybody in the house says it. That was her plan when she left there, was to meet Joe and give him money to spend time with her baby. You have to pay to spend time with your baby with a man that you know is going to abuse you while you're spending that time that you paid for with your baby. And your baby is going to see things she shouldn't see while you're there trying to visit your baby.
That's right.
This
That's
man
right.
is psychotic. So, anyway, my thought is he was sitting there, he was angry. One, we were told she was naked. Whether she was, whether she was awake, like they said, and she wanted to drive the car, or she was carried out, everybody says she was naked, period. So if she's driven home by Tyrone, who I've heard as I listen to all of this stuff from this guy that plays PI, he says Tyrone is known as the neighborhood Uber driver. So that could have been. But I think Sarah was already waiting on Joe to pick her up at her house to take her to see her baby. And by the time she got home, Joe was already there. And that's why her shoes are there, and that's why her cigarettes and stuff are on the porch. Because Joe might have let Tyrone leave, not know, and not acted all pissed off until he was gone. And then he took Sarah and the binder and everything. But maybe Tyrone is like, well, fuck, there was this guy. I'm sorry. Maybe there was this guy there when I got there. And what do I say about him? What if he comes after me? What if he comes after my family? What is making Tyrone not stay where he dropped Sarah?
Well, there's something. I mean, this is so clearly obvious. And I actually had a conversation with Tyrone's mother, and I asked her these very questions. I said, I believe in my heart of hearts that Tyrone is afraid. I don't think Tyrone is a nefarious, person who runs around unaliving people. I never thought that. I don't believe there was any premeditation to unalive Sarah by any of these people. I think that there was a good possibility that Joe and Sarah got into one of their arguments that they were known to get into. Joe had been violent with Sarah before. He had shoved her and pushed her. He has been violent with other people. So it's not beyond the reason to believe that they could have gotten in some kind of an argument and something terrible happened to Sarah. Now, I believe that there's definitely got to be some threats involved, because why wouldn't Tyrone want to clear his name? Why would he not want to get off a poster in Ocala and the Reddick area and get off of all the live streams that I have done and all of the other media attention? I mean, Nancy Grace has done a story now on Sara Ebersole, thanks to all of Sarah's soldiers who emailed her and reached out to her, including obviously Michelle. Nancy Grace was willing to do an episode on Sara Ebersole. And why would you not, Tyrone, want to be clear of all this? If all you did was come over to party with Sarah because you were attracted to her, I understand that puts you in a bad place with your current girlfriend and the mother of your children. But if you did it, you did it. But if you didn't unalive her, if you didn't have anything to do with her disappearance, then, admit to the part you did have a connection with. Now, one of my concerns is Joe's past, and Joe doesn't want any of us to Google him or know about his past, but it's out there. And he was a person of interest in the SA assault and homicide of Coral Rose in a Northport home in 2006. This was way before he ever met Sarah, way before Sarah was on his radar or they had a child together. He was a person of interest in this case. That should be very concerning to the police. It should have been very concerning to them. He was asked to voluntarily give a blood DNA, and he wouldn't give it. Now, if you are wanting to not be connected to an unaliving of a 5-year-old child, a 5 or 6-year-old child, why wouldn't you give your blood DNA, right? Why wouldn't you want to be completely cleared of any connection to this Patrick Dwayne Murphy? Now, Patrick Dwayne Murphy is serving life in prison. And what is also annoying to me, and that the police didn't look into this any deeper because they obviously didn't, is, does Joe know Patrick? I think there's evidence that he does. I think there's evidence that they are both from the same town in Kentucky where Joe fled, in my opinion, with Dahlia after Sarah disappeared, because Joe was evicted from the hotel he was staying at in Ocala, Florida, and he took the child, and because he has custody of her, he can, and he went to Kentucky, back to his old stomping grounds, which lo and behold is where Patrick D. Murphy is from, the same area. So that's always been a very big concern of mine. And again, people don't always look like they appear. They don't inside. A person can appear to look like the boy next door, like Jeffrey Dahmer, the famous,
Ted Bundy. I mean,
so many of these very infamous, scary psychopaths, sociopaths, whatever label you want to put on them, they did not look scary. They didn't look like somebody you would be afraid to hang out with or go on a date with or go home with from a bar. For those of you that sometimes do that, like people with Jeffrey Dahmer,
right.
He would meet them. Jeffrey Dahmer would meet his victims in bars, and he would be nice to them and compliment them and say nice things about them, and then invite him back to his house for, a drink or a glass of whatever. And then he would unalive them. And he did this for a long time. The only reason Jeffrey Dahmer even got caught is because someone escaped. Someone escaped before he could unalive them, and that is the only reason. And a lot of these people can go on for years with their nefarious, just horrible.
And the police actually returned his victim to him, the victim that escaped Jeffrey Dahmer and got out on the streets naked and bloody and beaten and everything.
Right.
And then
right.
Dahmer comes out and says, "Oh, he just missed his meds. He's confused." Blah, blah, blah. And they let him take him right back in. Like what? Like I just don't get where the police don't pick up on all the red flags that any normal human being would.
Well, exactly. Brittany says, Tisha said it sounded like someone was in the backseat of the car. Sounded like Sarah was talking to someone. What if she called Joseph from that car? Yes. So yes, Brittany, I'm glad you brought that up because I talked about that right before you joined us, that the sheriffs confirmed to me that they believe there was someone else in the car. So, and that person is no longer alive. So I think it is possible that Sarah could have called Joe from the car and said, "Hey, I'm on my way home. I need to talk to you. I want to see my daughter. She's getting this ride from Tyrone back to her house," which like Karen just said, would explain why her shoes, her cigarettes, and her lighter were at the house because Tyrone took her home, and that she called Joe on her way. Is that possible? Yes. Sarah's phone is missing. But they have made me feel from my conversation with them that Tisha was right and that there was someone else in the back seat of that car or the front seat that arrived. Now, was Tyrone giving someone else a ride and he brought him along? I don't know. Again, we don't know, but it was confirmed to me that person is no longer alive. So we have Bubba no longer alive, and we have this unknown passenger in Tyrone's car no longer alive. Now, people have asked me, could they have meant Bubba? No, because I confirmed that. I said to the sheriffs, I said, "Are you referring to Bubba? Because I already know he's no longer alive." And there was no witnesses. James Schaller or Tisha McDermott never stated that Bubba got in that car and left with Tyrone and Sarah. That was never stated by anybody. So it couldn't have been Bubba that got in the car and that the sheriff is referring to is now not alive, because I even confirmed with the sheriff that I was aware that Bubba wasn't alive, that he passed of a drug overdose. So there's this mysterious situation where there was another witness. He or she is no longer alive. Tisha said it sounded like a woman. So we have that, but Tyrone knows exactly who it was. So did he tell the police who it was? We don't know, because the police won't tell us. They won't give out that information. Rachel says, "I would try to set the record straight. If I'm not guilty, I'm giving everything to the authorities." Absolutely. Why would you not want to clear your name if you haven't done anything wrong? Any normal human is, if they're even being slightly considered a person of interest, they're going to want to prove why they're not. So that's why I never understood with, Joe, why he didn't give his DNA back in 2006 for that child's just horrible, sad demise. So a man was charged with arring and killing a 6-year-old Northport girl in 2006, pleaded guilty. According to a plea deal, prosecutors agreed not to seek the death penalty against 29-year-old Patrick Dwayne Murphy. He will spend the rest of his life in prison without the possibility of parole. Authorities say Murphy was already in prison on unrelated charges in 2008 when he was linked to Coral Rose Fullwood's slaying by DNA evidence. The little girl's body was found in the woods blocks from her Northport home on September 17th, 2006. Murphy lived near the girl at the time of the killing. Authorities still believe that other suspects were involved, but no one else has been charged. And no one else was ever charged. But they always believed that there was some type of a pedophile ring in that area, and that they may have been operating out of a storage locker. These are things that I have read and garnered from doing research. And again, Joe Mayton was connected to this group of people somehow. They don't just make this shit up. So he was living in this area. He wasn't living far from where this happened. I believe that he knew this man from Kentucky. So I'm still upset by that. It concerns me. It makes the hair stand up in the back of my neck. And the only other person that was ever of interest is this person, Ryan Spivak. Now, he was a person of interest simply because he was an Uber driver who lives in Ocala and Gainesville, and was known to give the gals that were exotic dancers at the club risque rides. So he came to Michelle's attention somehow, but he was inevitably cleared as not being involved at all. So, but I just wanted to say there was a point in time where he was considered, this is a right side is a much younger
Well, he was
version.
just saved in Sarah's phone. Once Michelle got into Sarah's iCloud, he was
Right,
saved in there as her Uber ride. You know, she had a couple of
right.
people saved as her regular Uber drivers,
Right.
and
So
he
he
was
had to
probably
be
saved
checked
in there.
out, and he was, and he was cleared. So so that was that. Now we did have updates back in January. These were just photos that Michelle shared with me. She went out to the property and took some photos just to go walk the property and see if there was anything. Then
Get
like
that
I
off
said,
of there. Cover that. Get that off of there. Get that off of there. I'm good. Thank you. I
oh,
will leave the podcast. I
uh,
will leave the podcast.
I only put that
I
up there.
will.
I only put that up there because I wanted to let you all know that he is no longer supposed to be working this case. But here's the problem is that anybody can look into anything. I mean, it's America. So if you have an interest in a case where someone's been out alive, I contact families. I personally because of my past as a police officer and a social worker, I like to contact the families and let them
He's
know that I'm interested.
painting Michelle as a problem. After he said in the beginning, I want to help you pro bono because really you've already done all the hard work. And now he's turning that around like she's in the way. He
Right.
is just a goofball. He's a
Yeah.
goofball. Like he admits he has PTSD, then he can't have a PI license because it's
Well,
illegal.
this is the problem
So
is that nobody should be putting Michelle into any kind of a corner. She's allowed to
no,
grieve.
that's why I came on this podcast because
Yes.
see, Joe managed that restraining order came right after she did the Nancy Grace thing. He was trying to prevent that, but he just missed it by hours. And
Wow.
because it was already
I'm going
done,
to pull that up while you're talking. So let's stand by for a minute. I'm going
well,
to,
because it was already done prior to the order being enforced by a judge, it couldn't be silenced. Why is this man so worried about silencing Michelle looking for the mother of his damn child? What is
right.
wrong with this fool? And
It
why
makes
would a
no
judge
sense.
side with someone? Like, how is he using the detective against? I. This is all just so wrong. I can't
It,
even.
I
Like a
know.
kindergartner would realize how wrong all of this is.
So my concern too all along has been with Joseph is that nothing's adding up. You've got, like I was saying at the beginning of our
And like
episode.
you said, is he even really the dad? We don't know. We don't
Well,
know.
no, we don't know. I mean, my concern is that he's possibly not the dad, and that this is his MO to that he was involved in Coral Rose's unaliving, and that he was that he stalked Sarah because he was trying to have a child with her so he could have a child to manipulate and control and possibly SA. I mean, these are all theories. These are theories. They are our opinion, but they are based on paper. They're based on evidence of his behavior, violent behavior with Sarah and with others. Those are things he did. I don't make things up about him. I do my research and I follow the evidence. And it's it's the theories that are very concerning in this case, but also the facts that we know that DCF has been contacted in multiple states, Kentucky and Florida.
And they
And
tried to blame all of those calls on Michelle. They tried to say that Michelle made every one of those calls. Michelle did not make every one of those calls. A
no,
school made them, a daycare made them. They were even in different states. And I mean, I just, how do you keep a child away from the family she grew up with? This child is now like there's no one to protect her. We don't know where she is. We
Right.
don't, before we had people saying, well, we spotted them here, we spotted them there, and whatever. And now we can't even try to keep track of her to know that she's okay. Like for all we know, she isn't okay, and who will ever even know? Who will know?
Because she
Not
had,
DCF.
because he has no friends to speak of. He's been fired
He,
from multiple jobs. He's been sued from multiple hotels where he didn't pay his bills.
there's no family to go home
There's
to
no
and raise her with.
no,
This
there's no
kid has
family.
no stable life. From
Right.
from the time I have joined this search for Sarah, I have known that this child has been evicted from several motels
Can't
with
do.
this man. And what he
Who will
does
you?
is just run in the middle of the night
Breaking news tonight.
before,
Vanished.
yeah,
Okay, let's take a look at Nancy Grace,
okay.
who was kind enough to show. I emailed a little bit with one of her producers beforehand and was just grateful, so grateful that she, with as busy as a schedule as they have, with as many cases that are in this country right now of unsolved domestic violence, homicides, and
That's
missing.
because Michelle is like a pit bull with a bone. And
That's
until this
right.
case is solved, that's how she's going to stay. And y'all can take it or leave it,
Well,
but
she
you're
has
not
every
going to
right.
silence her.
Michelle,
You are
Michelle has
not going to
every right.
silence her no matter how you come at her. If I have to mortgage my house to pay her lawyer bill, I will do that. So just know she is not alone. And she has 34,000 other people besides me. So y'all just need to settle down, do your job.
Exactly. And she has every right to say whatever she wants about the search for her sister, to be as critical as she wants. Any of us that have a missing family member would do the same. And so
That's right.
anybody criticizing Michelle is, to me, out of bounds, and they should be ashamed of themselves. You should never criticize family for their
And should be
actions.
removed from the case. He should not be the detective on the case. He is
No,
not looking for her sister. He is not updating Michelle. He
no.
is actually going after Michelle. He has a vendetta against her, and this is just a conflict of interest. You
Oh, it's a
cannot help a
huge conflict.
family if
Huge.
you hate the person that you're trying to help. You
That's
can't
right.
do it. They don't
No,
fit in the same
I,
chapter.
I've said this many times, that if Marion County Sheriff has lost their ability to solve this case and find Sarah and find out what happened to her, then they need to call in Florida Department of Law Enforcement, because Florida Department of Law Enforcement can't just come in and take over a case. And the
No,
FBI
they
can't. The FBI can't just come in and take over a case. The FBI can only take over a case if it goes across state lines, and or if the law enforcement office has been accused of malfeasance, or there's some proof that the law enforcement agency is crooked, or that they have dirty cops.
Well, how many lawsuits do we have to have against a department before we consider them not capable of the job? Because
Well,
Billy Woods has lots against him, and he is the so-called leader of this pack of useless people right now.
yeah.
And he isn't stepping up and telling them to do the right thing. Hey, contact this family. What's wrong with you? This is your job. He isn't. He's out there for promotional reasons only.
Right. I,
So,
I still want to try to get an answer out of the court system as to how they can allow the detective on the case to bear witness for someone who had threatened Sarah and who Sarah had restraining orders against. Makes zero sense to me. Like, there's so much about Sarah's missing persons
please
case
find
that,
that out because I would love to know how that is even legal.
yeah, I'm gonna try dig into this the best I can and see what I can
Because
come
as
up.
far as I know, if they had both talked to the same lawyer about going to this case, then neither one of them could have used that lawyer. So how can, if they both talk to this same detective, how can this detective be against one or the other? You know what
Right.
I'm saying?
Right. It makes zero sense. All right, let's take a listen to Nancy for those of you that did not get a chance to see her coverage of Sarah.
A beautiful young mom, just 26 years old, a mom of one, goes missing after getting into a pickup with two mystery men. Good evening. I'm Nancy Grace. This is Crime Stories. I want to thank you for being with us.
Sara Ebersole vanished after getting into a black pickup truck in Reddick, Florida, and was never seen again.
Where is Sara? Behind, in the wake of her disappearance, is her little girl wanting mommy. Listen to this.
Sarah Gail Ebersole, 28, is missing from Reddick, Florida. The young mom has not been seen or heard from since March 3rd, leaving a house party just a mile and a half from her home. Sarah is 5'1", 116 pounds, with blonde hair and blue eyes. She has a small Kokopelli tattoo on her right hip. Marion County Sheriffs believe Sarah is in danger. If you have information on Sara Gail Ebersole, please call Detective Brian Stith at 352-368-3542.
Where is this beautiful young mom? Why was she spotted in a pickup truck with two so-called mystery men? Joining me an all-star panel, but first I want to go out to her sister who has been leading the search for Sara. Michelle Tullis, thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Michelle, when you first learned that your sister was missing, what went through your mind and how did you find out?
Well, I knew it wasn't normal behavior. I tried to contact Sara. She wasn't responding for 24 hours. She also had not responded to her roommate. So then we tried to reach out to the Marion County Sheriff's Department immediately.
You know, she was always so reliable, never missed work, loved her little girl. I'm just trying to think through the facts surrounding Sara's disappearance. Everybody take a look at Sara Ebersole. Just a stunning young woman, a young mom in love with her little girl. What went wrong? As of tonight, no sign of Sara. So what do we know? We've backtracked her movements. Listen.
When Sara Ebersole gets off work at 7 p.m. Thursday, March 2nd, she grabs a ride home from a coworker. Sara's roommate, Deborah, is out of town and Sara texts her about trash pickup. Deborah tells her to get their friend Lonnie to pick up the trash, nothing out of the ordinary. At 9:45 p.m., Sara walks to a corner store near her apartment, but realizes she won't make it before they close at 10 p.m. Still wanting to grab a few items, Sara gets Lonnie to drive her to a Circle K a mile up the highway.
Joining me an all-star panel to make sense of what we're learning tonight, you have already met Sara's sister, Michelle. Now, straight out to Giovanni Diaz, investigative reporter at WFTV 9 in Florida, professor at Valencia College. Giovanni, thank you for being with us. I'm just thinking in terms of a mom, okay? That's how I'm seeing this, and as a crime victim myself. A lot of the scenarios surrounding Sara's disappearance doesn't make sense to me. But I want to start with her walking. She gets a ride home with a coworker, and then she realizes she wants to go to the convenience store, Circle K. Now, I don't know if Circle Ks are all around the country, but in quasi-rural areas, it's normal to walk a half a mile to the Circle K and walk back home with your stuff. Very normal. When I was growing up in rural Georgia, middle Georgia, that was commonplace. We would walk to the corner store or the McBride's grocery store, which was a little bit further, and or we'd take our bikes.
3 huge reasons why you should definitely avoid using this on your hair. In just 2 weeks, it made my hair grow like crazy.
It was no big deal. So explain to me, Giovanni, that night she gets home from work and she needs to go to the grocery store. So she wants a ride to Circle K. Is that correct?
That's exactly correct. Thanks for having me. And that you refer to this as someone who's been a victim yourself and also as a mother. And I actually approached this as someone who also lost his sister. You know, I also lost my sister, and I actually applaud Michelle for all the work that she's been doing. She's been doing on behalf of her sister here, because she's really been pushing this story and pushing for investigation into what happened to Sarah. But that's exactly correct. She actually basically vanished, and nobody really knows what happened to her. I actually went to the store where she was last seen at the time. People are aware of her disappearance. They know the story. When I got there and I mentioned what I was doing there, I tried to gather information about Sarah. People know the story. People know about Sarah. They are just as stunned about her disappearance as everyone else is, especially folks from her family. But again, really, there's at this point, which is the most outrageous part of this case, is that we still don't have any leads into where Sarah is, and this is still a case of a missing person.
You know, Giovanni, I'm trying to process everything you just said. You got me drinking out of the fire hydrant. That was too much, too fast. So you've been to the Circle K where she was last spotted, and in fact spotted on video. We know she was there. We know what time she was there. It was time stamped. And this was not an irresponsible mom. She showed up to work every day. She took care of her daughter. And I mean, she was back and forth with the roommate. The roommate, Deborah, was at an annual women's veterans retreat. They were texting back and forth about trash pickup. And that seems so normal and somewhat mundane. And you know what I've noticed? Don't move, Giovanni Diaz, to Dr. Leslie Dobson joining us, clinical forensic psychologist and host of a brand new podcast, Intentionally Disturbing. You can find her at drlesliedobson.com, author of The Friend Cleanse. Dr. Leslie, thank you for being with us. Just something Giovanni said. We were talking about that she needed to go pick up things from Circle K, that she was texting back and forth with her roommate who was at this female veterans get together over the weekend about the trash pickup. You know, I think the bulk of my texts with my husband, pick up this from the grocery store. Are you getting the twins? Roll the trash out. Do this. Did you turn off the coffee pot? It's part of a rhythm, right? It's seemingly to everybody else, it's mundane, but it's our world. And it always shocked me so much when my fiance was murdered. Everything was just fine. Everything was fine. And then all of a sudden, life stopped. It's like the world exploded. And that's the way it is here. One moment, this mother of one is texting, hey, when's trash pickup? The next thing you know, she's gone. And she hasn't been seen since. That dichotomy, Dr. Leslie, is very hard for the human mind to take in.
Definitely. It's a concept we call ambiguous loss, where we don't have closure until we figure out what has happened to the individual. So I commend her sister for trying and continuing through this, but the pain is almost worse than actually finding out the result, right? The pain of carrying the weight of not knowing is so traumatic and horrible for everyone involved.
Yeah, Dr. Leslie, I'm just thinking about what her little girl is going through. She's going to have birthdays and Christmases without mother unless Sarah is found. Michelle, tell us, when it actually sinked into you, jumping off what Dr. Leslie Dobson just said, that she didn't just let her phone die. She just wasn't out of range. She wasn't at a party or having a great first date with someone and not picking her phone up. When it really hit you, my sister is missing. I guess the closest person in the world to me, next to my twins and husband, is my sister. We grew up together. We're very much alike, look alike, everything. What happened when you realized she just doesn't have a flat tire and her phone's dead? She's really gone.
Right. My sister had actually messaged me before she went missing. So when I messaged her saying, hey, Sarah, where are you at? She's not responding. I knew something immediately was wrong, because maybe 24 hours of her phone, needed to be charged, or she broke it, get a new one, but never would Sarah just not respond. She just wasn't irresponsible like that.
Where is Sara? Sara Ebersole, her life in front of her, just 26 years old. To Giovanni Diaz joining me, investigative reporter WFTV 9 in Florida. When you went to the Circle K, I can envision it because they're all over the southeastern part of the country. Tell me about it. Are there is there a big parking lot in the front on the sides? Is there a parking lot in the back? Is there a heavily wooded area behind it? Is there a spot for dumpsters where things could be thrown? Are there businesses on either side? Just describe it for us.
It really is exactly how you mentioned, except that there's not a lot of businesses around. It really is just one single location surrounded by wood, and it's a very heavily wooded area, and a big parking lot right in front of it. Actually, when I went in there, and I told folks that I was a news reporter trying to find more information about the case of Sara. They asked me if I knew what had happened to her. There were any updates on the story. People are questioning about it. And as I was doing, walking around trying to piece together the path that she followed that night, and you see, and once again, a lot of props to Michelle for the work she's been doing on this case, because there are signs with the phone number. Please reach out to us if you have any information about Sara. There was a reward put out for any information regarding her location at this point, and people just stop us to ask, do you know anything about her? Do you know if what's happened? Is there any new development on this case? Because the whole community there in that area and really across Central Florida is watching to see what happened, because as you mentioned, it really is astounding to imagine that this girl was just going to work. She was just a normal person doing her thing, and she's here now, and 5 minutes later she's gone. We do know that she took a final picture, and I think we just showed that picture there. That was one of the final pictures that Sara took, and then after that, we really
and there
have
you
no
can see
idea
in the background the Citgo gas tank. I want to jump off what Giovanni Diaz just told us, WFTV 9. Joining me now, Ashley Wardlaw, private investigator, chief operation officer at Nathan's Investigations in the Florida jurisdiction. Ashley, thank you for being with us. What Giovanni just said presents another problem. Now,
yes, I'm Rumor Willis, and I'm here.
It sounds very much like I said where I grew up in Middle Georgia, rural Middle Georgia. And we would have to walk literally just under a mile to get to the corner store. Then, Ashley, we couldn't go there anymore because they started selling beer on Sunday. And Mom was like, "No, we are never setting foot in there again." Okay. Then we had to walk to the Pep station, which is a gas station that sells snacks, or all the way to Mac Bryant's grocery store, which is even further. So what I'm saying is there's nothing around it. You don't have additional surveillance on either side. Like if you're in Manhattan, or if you're in the city of Atlanta, where you can see how investigators can put together a video montage of, okay, they went by this red light, then they came to this store, then they passed this security video, and you see the vehicle or the person traveling along, and you can trace them. It's not hard, but not here in this jurisdiction.
Yes, Nancy, working cases in these rural or country areas, it definitely can be difficult for an investigator when you don't have the go-tos, which would be, let me check surveillance, let me check the neighbor's surveillance, let me, pull footage from another nearby business when the nearby business is miles away. So the best thing for an investigator to do would be to use time. Time is of the essence for a case like this. Checking with people who was at the gas station, because memories fade, right? Over time, the memories fade. So we have to canvass, we have to do interviews immediately. If there is, some type of phone evidence that we need to examine, that needs to be done immediately. And I think with this case, just, time would slip away when someone's being told come back a week later, instead of jumping immediately into doing the investigation. But yeah, these rural areas, it can get difficult, but it's not impossible.
Please join us on our mission to find missing people, especially children, to solve unsolved homicides. If you're on the go, catch us on your favorite podcast app where you can get all of our content, where we, in our own way, seek justice. Where is 26-year-old mom of one, Sara Ebersole? What I'm about to tell you will make you cringe. Second verse, same as the first. Listen.
Inside the Circle K, Sara meets up with two cowboys. Her new friends invited her to a party. At 10:11 p.m., Sara takes a selfie from inside a black pickup truck and texts the picture to her sister, Michelle, with the caption, "Girl, I just jumped into a random car with some cowboys, and I hope they take me on a ride."
Joining me, in addition to the guests you've already met, Matthew Berhoma. Joining us out of LA, veteran trial lawyer with Power Trial Lawyers. Matthew, thank you for being with us. Can you take off your defense hat just one moment? Do you just groan or grimace when you hear about another innocent woman who thinks, okay, that's going to be fun, and goes with guys she's never met before to a party?
Nancy, of course, absolutely. I mean, there seems to be that there's relationships that they're strangers, they just met, maybe people that wouldn't necessarily care for your.
So I'm just going to stop it for just a second. I just want to comment a little bit on what she's already, told us. All of us already know all of this because we've been connected with Michelle since last September. So we all know everything that Nancy has already told us. But I am in disagreement about this. I think Sara did know who Bubba was. I think she either knew him casually or it was an acquaintance. I don't think she jumped in. I think she jumped into a random truck. I don't know if she knew Leonard, but I think she knew Bubba. I don't know how well she knew him, but that's just my gut feeling. I really don't think. And even so, I don't believe in victim blaming. I don't think we should blame the victim. I mean, think about what happens on college campuses every single year. Total strangers are partying together at fraternities and sororities and bars, and these kids end up hooking up and going home with each other and going to after bar parties. This is not unusual for 18 to 26-year-olds to meet a total stranger and think that person's nice and go off to a party with them. So I don't really love the whole, I feel this is a little victim blamey. I don't think Sara should. If we find her and she's alive, if she's been trafficked, or if someone, I think there's only two options. She's no longer with us, or they trafficked her, because I don't believe she's been held somewhere for 2.5 years. So I think those are only options, but she should never feel guilty if she's in heaven now and she's yelling down at us, "My life mattered." She didn't do anything a lot of other girls her age have done. And is it safe? No, probably not always. But again, this is going on college campuses all around our country. People meet strangers. People my age meet strangers. People my age go to a bar and start talking to somebody they've never met and may decide to go get a coffee with them because their gut feeling tells them they're okay. So it's literally part of life. So I just wanted to stop that for a minute because I didn't really like that very much, that they're kind of.
Before we become friends, we're strangers.
Exactly.
Everybody. Period.
Right.
So
exactly.
Her trying to make friends with these people is not unusual.
No, it's not. Everybody on a dating app is a stranger. When you go to meet that person that you met on a dating app, regardless if you're 20 or you're my age, 62, or you're in your 70s, you're going to meet a stranger, and you have to use your inner good sense and your gut feeling. And maybe you've done a little background checking before you go to that coffee shop, but most people haven't. Most people don't even know the person's real name. They only know their screen name from the dating app. They don't even know the person's real name when they go to that coffee shop, or maybe they go meet them to have a wine or a cocktail. So I don't feel that.
This is just somebody local in your neighborhood. It's not even like she was out at a bar and ran into somebody.
Right.
And, this is like, she's been in this neighborhood 3 months. Obviously, she's probably passed him in the Dollar General and the Circle K,
so.
because those are the only areas you can shop.
Yes.
And obviously there he's in the evening times when she would be there in the evenings after work, getting some things before she went home. I mean, or even in the daytime. I mean, just because they didn't shake hands one day and say, hi, I know you now, doesn't mean
Right,
she didn't feel in a sense, oh, I've been seeing him around. He must live in the neighborhood. I
right.
mean, how do you meet your neighbors and become friends with them if you do not interact in some way? I
Yes,
mean, she did get into a car with them in a public area. I
right,
mean, on a video, and so
right,
obviously, I would think those two would not have plans to do anything wrong with her, and they didn't.
right.
They didn't.
And they were all cooperative.
So she didn't make the wrong choice there. The
No,
wrong choice came to her. She didn't go to it. It came to
correct,
her.
correct. I
So let's
agree.
get that right.
I know. That's why I
Okay.
wanted to stop and chat about that for a minute
Yeah, I
because that
appreciate
bothered
that.
me. But remember, guys, the Nancy Grace is a media figure. That this is she is not a detective. She is not looking into this case in that manner. This is like all the other true crime shows, Dateline.
Oh, she used to be a prosecutor. I think she
Right,
retired from
right.
prosecuting. Yeah.
A
Yes.
lot of them, a lot of the big named, television programs that are looking into true crime, they all have backgrounds. And in her case, Nancy was a victim because she lost her fiance. But keep remembering that this has to stay in the community. It has to continue as a community effort because there's only so much the big named, podcasters and the big name TV shows can do for us. We still have to keep this local. We still have to keep Sarah's name in the mouth of everybody in Ocala and Marion County and Florida, because truly it's your community that ultimately cares. It's like the Karen Reed, John O'Keefe case. Those of you that are in Massachusetts, and in Canton and Stoughton, and it was Sandra Birchmore. These are your people. These are your law enforcement agencies. We can advocate for you and we can stand with you, but this is your home, and nobody cares more about your home and your community than you do. So this is on all of us who live here in Florida, and those of you in Ocala and Reddick and Marion County, to keep speaking Sarah's name, to keep going on Michelle's Facebook page and sharing out information, because the world may know about Sara Ebersole now, thanks to Nancy Grace, and I applaud her for including her, but they will not care the way you do. They will not continue speaking her name the way you do, because you know what? Somebody else is going to go missing tomorrow. Somebody else is going missing right now. Every 9 seconds that we've been on this show tonight, which is 1 hour and 51 minutes, a woman is getting beat up by her husband or her spouse. And 85% of women that are unalived by someone they know. So whoever hurt Sara, she knew them. She either knew them from that night, from partying with them, if it was one of the three that caused her death and that panicked and hid her body, or if it's Joe, her former boyfriend, the alleged father of her child, and they got in an argument like they always did, fighting about the custody of the child, fighting how often Sara got to see the baby, the daughter. Someone who hurt Sara, the person who hurt Sara knew Sara. That's it. And they know exactly where she is, and they're out there and they're walking around and they're living their best life. And it's fucking maddening. And I'm sorry to swear, YouTube, but it makes me mad and it pisses me off that this girl went missing in such a close area. Come here, Tanner. With such a few amount of people being the last people to have any contact with her or even be able to be a suspect. How do you not solve this, Marion County Sheriffs? How do you not solve
Exactly. Exactly.
so
You have 5 people to look at. How hard is that?
exactly.
5.
And of the
And then
5,
actually
there's only 3.
4 because one of them is dead.
2 of them are dead.
One is dead.
Right. If there
All right.
was
Sounds like your puppy needs to go out. Sounds like your puppy needs to go out.
Yes, I'm going to take a short break to take the puppy out. I'm going to put Nancy Grace back up for all of you, and
There you go.
Run him outside. Thank you. He's very patient and very good when
I hear him. I just know. I'm in rescue, so I just know.
He's a lucky boy because I'm a lucky lady.
Go take him potty, mommy. He's yelling.
Yes, he's a very good boy, and he's going potty right now.
Okay.
Well-being, right? So there's certainly a lot of questions that I have from a lay perspective about who these individuals are, how did they come to meet, and how well do they care about each other and know each other?
Guys, We have heard this story over and over again. As of right now, we don't know where Sara Ebersole is. We don't know who took her. We don't know if she's still alive. But the search for her is ongoing right now, led largely by her sister joining us tonight, Michelle. But again, it's the second verse, same as the first. Does the name Natalie Holloway ring a bell?
Natalie Holloway is among more than 100 seniors on a graduation trip to Aruba from Alabama. The night before their trip home, Natalie and her friends go to Carlos and Charlie's, a restaurant and nightclub frequented by tourists. The teens head back to their hotel rooms, but no one notices that Natalie isn't with them.
When I first got the call, the caller said that Natalie was missing and that no one had seen her and that she'd missed her flight. And in that instant, I knew instantly that something.
So is that it for Sara? Are they going over Natalie Holloway's case now?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I think.
Do they come back to Sara?
I'm trying to remember. I believe they do.
I'm just going to forward. That was a heartbreaking situation.
Yeah, they just brought that up as another case of how that
okay, here
happened.
we go. Yeah, we're going back here to Michelle. So let me just go back.
Yeah.
There we go.
Advance the knowledge of what we have right now about what happened to Sara. Listen.
James Bubba Robinson shares a duplex with couple Jimmy Schaller and Tisha McDermott. Bubba and Sara spend hours socializing with Jimmy and Tisha, with Sara documenting their time together with numerous cloud-saved photos both outside and inside the home. At 1:24 a.m., Bubba texts a friend, Tyrone Mormon. Mormon invites himself over to Bubba's house. Sara's Gmail shows she was watching YouTube videos around 2:40 a.m. At 2:57 a.m., Sara's phone syncs for the last time.
2:57 a.m. We know she did go to a party, Michelle told us. This is Sara Ebersole's sister, because she was having fun and taking selfies, and she was enjoying the evening at this party, this house party, with another couple, Jimmy and Tisha. We know that because they have photos together, selfies they were taken together. We know she was there until around 2:40 a.m. Is that correct, Michelle?
Yes. Jimmy provided photos from his device when I requested them April of 2023.
You're seeing the photos we were showing of that evening, the last evening. We can place her whereabouts. It was all innocent. Everything was fine. Couples were having fun. They were listening to music. They were taking selfies. When you don't know where to go, you go back and you try to figure out who is your victim. Who was her inner circle? Who was she with when she goes missing? Who is Sara Ebersole? This is what we've learned.
Sara Van, born and raised in Florida, the youngest of 7 siblings, spends most of her childhood in Sarasota, but in her teen years moves to Dunellen with sister Michelle. At just 18, Sara marries her first love, Thomas Ebersole. The young couple quickly realizes they moved too quickly and part ways amicably just a year later, Sara keeping the Ebersole name.
Matthew Barhoma joining us, veteran trial lawyer out of LA. That's what we call a starter marriage. Don't read too much into it, right?
Right. And she kept the last name, so.
She did. She kept Ebersole as the last name, and the two split amicably, and then she finds love. Listen.
After her first marriage, Sara begins seeing Joseph Mayton. The couple is soon expecting a baby girl, but while pregnant, Sara obtains a restraining order against Mayton after a physical assault. The parents are in court for custody decisions before Sara even gives birth, and just a few days after her daughter's birth, Sara changes her name from Dahlia Van to Cora Mayton at the father's demand.
With me, Sara Ebersole's sister, Michelle Tullis, who has led the search for her own sister. That relationship, that is the baby girl we're talking about, baby Cora. Sara struggled to get along with Mayton, Joseph Mayton, Cora's dad. The two split. What was the main problem? I understand Sara Ebersole had to get a restraining order against the husband.
She did have to get a restraining order. He had physically assaulted her while pregnant. So then she went to the court to obtain that restraining order to protect her and her unborn child. It was enacted for 6 months. He left and went to another state. And then after 6 months, he showed back up in Florida where Sarah and her daughter were living with me. And that's where the custody battle started.
So I understand that to keep the peace, Sarah changed the baby's name. At first, she didn't have the maiden last name, but at the bio dad's request, she changed Cora's name to Cora Maiden from Dahlia Van. Is that correct?
Correct, right before she turned 1 year old.
Marion County Sheriffs track Sara to a Circle K convenience store 2 miles from her home in Reddick, Florida. Security footage captures Sara inside the store, then saying goodbye to Lonnie and getting in one of the men's black truck at 10:10 p.m. Several smiling selfies with the men indicate Sara left with them willingly.
How many times have we heard the same scenario? Now it's Sara Ebersole who goes missing after a night partying with new friends that she meets at the Circle K, having no idea she may never see her little girl again. Very often we, as investigators and prosecutors, see the same scenario unfold, where unwittingly you end up with someone you've never met before, like Kristen Smart.
Kristen Smart was enrolled at Cal Poly in San Luis Obispo, California. As Memorial Day weekend rolled around, Smart made plans to attend a birthday party for a fellow student. Students Cheryl Anderson and Tim Davis walked Smart back to her dorm.
What she's just trying to show there is that it's normal for young people to get together with other young people. But I appreciate that you're fast forwarding through that. But I mean, that's why she's bringing up like
brilliant, all A's. She went to a get together and was walking home with friends, and then they peeled off.
Anybody that I'm not. Yeah, I have no disrespect for Kristen Smart or for Natalie Holloway, and those of you can go to Nancy Grace's channel if you want to watch about the other ladies that she's comparing. But I get what she's doing, but I want to get to the rest of Michelle. Yes.
Yeah, it's just to show that this is not abnormal behavior. It's just perfectly behavior.
Yes, it's typical for 18 to anywhere in the 20s to want to meet new friends and hook up with guys. It's not unusual at all. And I agree with you, Karen. So I'm glad that Nancy, was pointing that out with these other two young women as well.
Oh, yeah. She did nothing wrong, yet somehow it's easier to go, oh, she met these guys at a Circle K and took off in their black pickup. This is all on her. It's not all on her. Do you ever get tired of hearing that?
Yep.
I do. Sara was such a kind spirit. She would have immersed herself in anything the world had to offer. She thought everyone was a new personality and a new experience.
What more do we know? We know that somehow someone tried to reset her password that night. Listen.
Sara's Google account history shows she was on YouTube until 2:40 a.m. March 3rd. Later that day, the account history was viewed and deleted. Just before 2 p.m. March 3rd, someone tries to reset Sara's Snapchat password. The new login link was sent to her email, but it's unclear if the attempt was successful. There has been no further digital activity on Sara's emails, social media, or bank accounts since.
To Giovanni Diaz, WFTV9, could you explain that in slow-mo for me? Someone's changing her password and deleting her search history? What?
And at this point, that's all we really have, all those records of her digital footprint, right? As one of your guests just mentioned, there was no videos nearby. There was no other businesses nearby to kind of pinpoint what happened to her after the moment she was picked up by that, for that ride that she went into. So at this point, all the investigators into this case have is basically all those digital marks from phones and all of those pictures that were taken and the attempt to change that password. That email actually was sent to her to Sara because that's the standard when you try to change your password on your phone. And Michelle was actually able to find that later on because of her personal investigation into this case. And that's as much as the investigators have. I actually interviewed the Marion County Sheriff's Department about this case, and they wouldn't really give me a lot of information about this. They only said that they have a lot of leads. They're still looking into potential connections with other people that kind of were located in the nearby area. But at this point, and that was the last time I interviewed them, they said they could not share a lot about this case because it is still under investigation, which to me seems a little problematic because we have made no further discovery into this case.
Michelle, regarding
It's very problematic. And here's something that's problematic as well, that if they can't figure this out and solve this case in 2.5 years, the problem is that it's hard for anyone else to, even a PI or the reporter, investigative reporter, or YouTube live stream content creators, advocates like myself, because we can't see the police reports. The only police reports I was able to get at the time, this was almost a year ago now when I requested them, going on a year this fall, at the time they had over 300 pages of police reports, and I was only given 31, and of those 31 pages, they were heavily redacted. So for anybody to take over this case, Marion County has to allow it. They have to say to Florida Department of Law, we need help. Why haven't they asked for help? If you can't solve one missing persons case of one girl who, like we were just talking about with Karen, was only one young woman there's only relatively 5 suspects in a small little circle area of Reddick, Florida, and you've had 2.5 years, then why aren't you asking Florida Department? Why aren't you giving them this case? That doesn't make any sense. And are you trying to hide something? Are you involved somehow? You don't want to even update her sister on where you are with the investigation. It's zip. And the few times that I've been able to chat with them, they really wouldn't give me much either, just like the investigative reporter, just kind of coddling me along with my questions. It's very maddening, and it's not police. It's not normal. Most families are kept in the loop on an investigation, and most families know better than to share with the media or to share with even me, a live streamer. I wouldn't want them to. We don't ever want to hurt the integrity of a case. But for them to completely shut Michelle out, not return her calls, not take any requests for meetings with her, not keep her up to date on their so-called investigation with so many leads, it's maddening. It's wrong. Somebody needs to step in. I don't know how we do that, because according to chain of command, Florida Department of Law can't get involved unless Marion County says we need your help and asks for it. FBI can't get involved unless we can prove that there's dirty cops going on and that there's issues in Marion County with this case. And how do we begin to do that as a community? So this case has been frustrating for so long, and obviously, especially for Michelle and those close to Sara. But now Sara has soldiers, Sara's soldiers. There's so many people that are in this live chat right now that will watch on replay that have come to feel like they know Sara and they know Michelle and they care about them and they want to help by advocating and asking the questions. And who do we write letters to now? Are we at the point in this case where we have to start writing letters to our senator and our congressperson in our area? Because if that's where we're at, then I say we do it, because just like this reporter just said, this is very concerning now. If they aren't willing to ask for help, that's a problem, because what is most important is Sara. Finding Sara and finding out what happened to her, so that someday when her daughter, if her daughter survives all this, because in our opinion, she's not safe. I totally don't believe she's safe. And many teachers would agree with me who have filed those DCF reports. So we have a colossal failure to act here on DCF's part and on the part of Marion County Sheriff to raise their hand and say, we screwed this case up. We can't figure this out. We need help. Florida Department of Law, please help us. Why aren't they doing that, Karen?
I don't know, but here's what I can say. from what I understand in my 20-something years of being right here in the same house, in the same community, in the same county, our sheriff's department does run underneath our county commissioners. So our county commissioners are their boss, and they have to listen to them. So my suggestion would be to go to Marion, MarionFL.org, and you can email all of the county commissioners at one time. There's a link on there. Hit that link and tell them what your problems is with this. What would you like to see done with this case? Because we have to go above the sheriff's office. They're not hearing us.
Oh,
They're
absolutely. The sheriff they are tone deaf to us. Like I said, I've called them.
So I feel like if
Yeah.
the commissioners get enough emails or phone calls,
Did I get this right, Karen? Marion, is it MarionFL.org? Did I get, or is it county?
Yeah, MarionFL.org.
Okay, we'll take a peek at what that looks like here when we're done with Nancy Grace. I've been frustrated, upset, mad, everything you can imagine about Sara and her disappearance and the lack of movement for so long now. And every day I get up, I think of her and I think of Michelle and all of you that are fighting for justice. And it's not unlike many of the other victims and their families that I'm advocating for. But because this one is so close to home for me, that I live here in Florida and that I've gotten to know all of you so well, this one's extra hard on me every day and egregious. And I just want to do everything I can to try to move the needle on this. And I want to encourage all of you to help me if you can. And we so appreciate Nancy Grace covering this nationally. But like I said, to get national involvement is very hard. People tend to want to help in their communities. So we need Florida now. We need Florida. We need Volusia County, Marion County, Brevard. We need Jacksonville. We need all of you on this upper half of Florida to get involved in this case. And all of you should be angry and mad why Sara has not been found and why we do not know who unalived her, if that is the case. Or if, like Virginia said up here, it is not beyond the pale that she could be being held captive. It's really not. I mean, these creepy, scary, terrible things happen all the time. And if anybody's capable of it, it's Joe. I'm telling you, from what I've read about his past and his psychotic nature, given interviews with his own family, his behavior as a child, if anyone's capable of having Sara, and it's him, and he could, or could there have been issues?
Well, he certainly is looking for her. He isn't looking for her. Isn't
never once.
Be or who she might be with. So one, he either knows she's no longer here, or he has her, and he's just keeping her so drugged up that she cannot get away.
We just went out. Well, yeah, I mean, like Virginia said, if that who was that nefarious character, Virginia? I'm trying to go back up and catch what you said earlier. Oh, yes, Ariel. If Ariel Castro can hold 3 women and a child hostage in a residential neighborhood for 10 years, I'm sure Joe can figure it out. And he did have a secret hotel room, which is very creepy.
That's another whole long story. Like I won't even be awake long enough to tell that one.
No, we'll talk. We'll touch on that next week because there's some other things I want to touch about, and I don't want to keep you much longer. So
he was evicted from that hotel.
Yes,
it had a room that they didn't know. They weren't aware that he was using.
Correct. Because he was the manager. He was the manager of this hotel in Ocala, and they had no idea that he was using another room for himself. And he changed the locks on it. And let's go back to Nancy Grace and see if Michelle speaks on that.
Like I said, that's another story.
Yeah, and we'll continue next Wednesday because there's more things that I want to share too from things Michelle had shared with me that are that are super concerning. And I want to play the interview with Tisha because I think it's important for all of you that are advocating for Sara. Now, since Eric was willing to, for whatever reason, release these interviews that he did, I want to, what are you up to down there, huh? What are you up to down there, puppy? I want to share them with you because they're public. So we'll share the interviews with Tisha, James, and Bubba next Wednesday and talk further as well about our ideas and theories. And I may be able to contact some more people between now and then as well.
You discovered, not police, not law enforcement, not some crack detective, but you discovered someone had tried to change her password. How did that happen?
I gained access to Sarah's Gmail account, and when I figured Marion County wasn't taking this seriously as a missing persons case, and I could see the access to the Snapchat, which I notified them immediately. And then throughout the investigation, I then continued to go ahead and get into other accounts for Gmail and or iCloud, where you can see the video interactions throughout the night. And I also surveillance the area and located the truck that my sister got into.
What's so fabulous about these is that they're clear on the top, and then they transition just slightly to the bottom where it's magnified so I can see things up close.
Where is 26-year-old Sara Ebersole, the mother of one little girl? Now we learn that fateful night when she was last seen in a Circle K video and last seen taking selfies at a party with the other couples that were there. That very evening, someone went into her digital account and tried to change her password. Not only that, her account history was viewed and deleted. Now, why would someone go in to reset your Snapchat password? We know that because a new login was sent to her email, but I wonder if that person couldn't access her email to make it a complete change. Very reminiscent of fraudulent activity on murder victim Gabby Petito's cell phone.
In the aftermath of Gabby Petito's murder, the Petito family alleges that Brian Laundrie used Gabby's phone to send text messages to her family in an attempt to deceive them. Among the messages Brian Laundrie is believed to have sent is a text message to Gabby's mother, Nicole Schmidt, about Gabby's grandfather. In the text, he refers to Gabby's grandfather as Stan. Schmidt has stated Gabby never called her grandfather by his first name and that the text was highly suspicious.
Michelle, this is Sara's sister. Was that normal? Did she frequently change her passwords?
This particular access to the Snapchat happened on an account she had not used since 2017. So it would not be an account she would attempt to access for that Snapchat.
To Ashley Wardlaw joining us, private investigator, Chief Operations Officer, Nathan's Investigations. Ashley, again, thank you for being with us. That is a multi-step process to go through, view your search history, delete your search history, line by line, then go through the hoops of trying to change a password. That takes a lot of effort. And I find it really hard to believe that at a party, this 26-year-old mom of one is sitting at the party changing her password and deleting her search history. That did not happen, Ashley.
Yes, that's very, very suspicious, Nancy. For someone to take the initiative to even start the process to recover a password, it is a multi-step process, right? You just don't go and click forgot password and you get to make a new one. You have to go through loopholes nowadays to, get access to an email to reset the password. Sometimes they send you text messages to be able to authenticate, who you are to reset this passcode. So it's very, very suspicious that was going on at the time when she's supposed to be partying.
Interesting that Sara's sister has to lead the charge in finding her. Listen.
Sara's sister, Michelle Toulis, begins searching the area for the black truck. She doesn't have to look hard. A black truck matching the surveillance footage is parked at a home less than a tenth of a mile from the Circle K. The owner, Leonard Anderson, recognizes a photo of Sara, saying she accepted his buddy James Robinson's invitation to a house party, and he dropped them off at Robinson's home next door the night of March 2nd.
Okay, so once again, we're corroborating those photos that we already see about the house party at the couple's home. And there's more. Listen.
Leonard Anderson and James Robinson are happy to speak to Marion County Sheriffs about Sara. Robinson says Sara joined him and his roommates for a small house party. Photos Sara took that night show her posing with Robinson, James Schaller, and his girlfriend Tisha McDermott. The girls even took turns modeling outfits from Tisha's closet. 1:24 a.m., Robinson texts friend Tyrone Mormon about the party, and Mormon decides to come over. Robinson says when the party wound down, Mormon offered to get Sara home. Robinson says he helped Sara to his car between 3 and 5 a.m.
So bring me up to this point, Giovanni Diaz, WFTV 9. So they're stating they are with her. They partied into the night, and they're all going back to his car at between 3 and 5 a.m. Is that correct?
That's correct. And at this point, that's the only person in this story that actually connects all of those locations and everything that so far we know about what happened to Sara. And that's where that's where our dead end is. I actually specifically asked the Marion County Sheriff's Office when I did this story, what can you tell us about this person, Tyrone Mormon? And they basically were very tight-lipped about it. And once again, we go back to the digital aspect of this because he also deleted information from his phone.
Okay, Giovanni Diaz, I don't like the sound of this guy, Mormon, deleting things from his own phone from that night. You know, if you look at my phone, I've got 7,000 literally unread messages. I'm not picking through all that to delete something specific. Why was he deleting messages? It's very, very disturbing that he would pick those messages to delete. And that's not all. Listen.
Tyrone Mormon refuses to talk. Deputies get a search warrant for his phone, but Mormon misses his appointment to extract the data. Mormon claims he smashed the phone, so he trashed it. However, Mormon's girlfriend says that isn't true. Tyrone Mormon is arrested for lying to police. When investigators arrive to search his home for the phone, he turns it over. Information from the device shows Sara and Mormon stop at a convenience store in northeast Marion County, but no further movements are determined.
Okay, right there. Joining me, veteran defense attorney Matthew Barhoma, joining us out of LA at powertriallawyers.com. Matthew, I can't wait to see a defense attorney just like you try to explain, again, he's not been named a suspect and he is innocent under the eyes of the law until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt by a jury of his peers. But explain to me, give me your best shot at why you, Matthew Barhoma, would delete things off your phone and then smash your cell phone and then tell police it was on the blink, so it was all an accident, so you threw it away.
You know, Nancy, the beauty of American jurisprudence is that he doesn't have to answer that. Okay, that's what the Fifth Amendment right is all about.
Look
And
around
more
you, please,
importantly-
Matthew. Look around. Do you see a judge? Do you see a box for the jury? You're not in court. So don't tell me what's coming into evidence on crime stories. I'm asking you, how do you explain that technical legal term, BS? Did they teach you that in law school?
Well, I'll tell you what it is, okay? Deleting information off of your phone is not evidence of murder. It just doesn't bring you there, right? It's not evidence of foul play. It doesn't bring you there. It's not evidence of harboring someone such as Sara. It doesn't bring you there. There's still a missing piece of a material piece of evidence that's missing that corroborates or that links Mr. Mormon and Sara, the victim. So unfortunately, even though he's deleted these items and even though he's lied to the police, he's been charged
Put him
for
up,
that,
please.
right?
Okay, you know what? You just tell that to a jury. Again, this guy has not been named a suspect in this case, but you know who he makes me think of? Let me go out to Giovanni Diaz joining us from Florida. Does the name Maddie Soto, she was just 13 years old when she was murdered by mommy's live-in, Stefan Stearns. According to police, he's presumed innocent. You know what he did? He deleted everything off of his phone, but Ding Dong didn't realize a lot of it's up in the cloud, including videos that he took before she was killed. See, when I hear deleting things off my phone, why? Why that night, the night that he was with Sara Ebersole? Why delete that of all things? And what a coinkydink, Giovanni, that he's deleting things off his phone at the same time somebody is trying to change Sarah's password and deleting her search history. That doesn't bother you?
It's very interesting that you actually mentioned Madeline Soto, because I was actually in court just 2 weeks ago for an update hearing on this case involving specifically information about deleting data from your phone while an investigation is ongoing. And that's exactly what we were talking about here. Yeah, as your guest mentioned it's not a crime that he deleted that. It's a crime that he lied to law enforcement at the time of his connection with police. He wasn't arrested initially. He was questioned about the case, and he provided false information, and that's the reason why he now currently faces charges for that, for lying to law enforcement. And that's the reason why we are still here at this point, trying to understand why he would do that. And at the same time, as he's being charged with that, but he's out on bond. He paid $10,000 to respond to his
So he's
charges
walking free. I get it,
He is walking
Giovanni.
free.
Ashley Wardlow also joining us from the Florida jurisdiction, very well-known private investigator. Ashley, now to hear Matthew Barhoma, and I respect him, he's a great lawyer, tell it. That's just, I don't have to prove anything just because I smashed my phone and threw it away and deleted what happened the night I was with Sara Ebersole. But then he clams up and refuses to speak. I mean, Ashley, I know I can't comment on this to a jury, but look around, everybody. We're not in a courtroom right now. We can talk about it. Remember that crazy First Amendment? We can have freedom of speech. And I am free to say when someone refuses to cooperate with police about what happened to a missing young mom and you're with her last, I would want to say, yes, I was with her. We walked to my car. I drove her home. She got out. She waved goodbye. And then I left. And I haven't heard from her since. Why? Where is she? That's what I would think we would hear from him, but he's refusing to speak. Does that concern you, Ashley?
Absolutely, it concerns me because if you don't have anything to hide, then why are you hiding something, right? Yes, the actual act of deleting something isn't illegal, but when it comes down to it, as a private investigator, we're just really interested in what is in that device. What did you delete? Because when you think you deleted something, most of the time we're still able to uncover it.
You can sell this $5 spatula on Amazon and compete with hundreds of other spatula sellers. Or
the shoes Sara is seen wearing in photos at Robinson's home are found inside her home, but her phone and wallet are not. There are no signs of a struggle, no clothes left out like Sara changed, and a pack of cigarettes and a lighter on the front porch. Missing from the home, a binder of information Sara kept on her ex's criminal history, legal documentation of her daughter's name change, a keepsake teddy bear with a dahlia flower for Cora's middle name, and Sara's toothbrush, hairbrush, and makeup brushes.
Michelle Tellos joining us. This is Sara's sister who has led the search for her sister. What does that tell you? I can see the shoes, Michelle, that Sara's wearing in the photos that night at the house party at that couple's home. Can we see that photo? I see the shoes, and those shoes are found in her home. See those shoes right there? Those exact shoes are found in her home, which says, Michelle, she came home. What do you deduce, Michelle?
Right. You would presume that my sister made it home and that something happened after she arrived home. Did somebody else pick her up or what happened? We just don't know.
Was it her cigarettes? Was it her lighter on the front porch?
Yes, it was.
Because I remember my paternal grandmother would sneak a cigarette and she would go outside and smoke one cigarette and then come back in like nothing had happened. But she would leave the lighter and the cigarettes out there so everybody would know she had been out there. So I'm imagining Sara snuck outside so smoke wouldn't get inside where her daughter would be, and had a cigarette. So there's a cigarette in the lighter on the front porch. But missing is that binder she kept on her ex-husband, including the docs regarding Cora, now Cora's name change. Remember, her name had been Dahlia Mann, and now she changed it for the biodata. Why would that be missing?
That was the first thing I noticed when we went into my sister's home. It seems like the paper trail needed to be deleted of the history between the two.
The search for missing mom Sara Ebersole goes on. If you know or think you know anything about her disappearance, please dial 352-368-3542. We remember an American hero, Police Officer Robert Schisler, Deptford Township PD, New Jersey, shot and killed in the line of duty. Survived by parents Robert and Tracy, siblings Ashley and Tyler. American.
Well, thank you again to Nancy Grace and her directors and producers of the show. Come here, Tanner. Come here, buddy. Tanner's running out of steam here for our long live stream tonight. But thank you, Nancy Grace, and to everyone that produces your show. It's an amazing show. I've watched you for years, and I appreciate that you were willing to interview Michelle. All of Michelle's soldiers. We're so grateful and happy that you were willing to give nationwide and even worldwide attention to where is Sara Ebersole. Karen, are you still with us? Want to bring you up to say thank you and good night to you. We'll give Karen a minute to come back to us. So there is a $20,000 reward for any information leading to the whereabouts of Sara Ebersole. Please say something if you know. Please come forward. Remember, hashtag toss shells for Sara. Michelle has started this beautiful event that when you're at the beach, if you pick up some shells and just take a Sharpie and just write hashtag Sara Ebersole on them, so that if someone finds the shells later, they may look it up and learn about this lovely woman and her beautiful daughter and the travesty that has come to this family. And it doesn't have to be a shell. I actually wrote on a rock when I was home in Wisconsin and put it along the lake shore by the lakes on my University of Wisconsin campus. I'm an alumni, former police officer there. And so there is now a rock. I forgot to tell this to Karen. There is now a rock with hashtag Sara Ebersole on it near the shoreline of the Lake Mendota near the Memorial Union. So if any of you see that, please add to that, please, because there's only so much we can do right now as advocates. We just can continue to speak Sara's name, continue to talk about the circumstances, the suspects, the people of interest, and just keep talking about her, because we don't want her to be forgotten. We want Michelle to be supported. Nothing worse for a family member than not knowing where their person is and not getting justice for their person. Thank you, everybody who came in our friend zone tonight and supported us, both Karen and I and Michelle, for your comments. I appreciate them all. And yes, Virginia, so I put up that Tyrone wouldn't take that binder. Tyrone would have absolutely no reason to take that binder. It would be meaningless to him. So that's why I've always leaned that with that binder being missing and the teddy bear being missing, that's very concerning. And that unfortunately does point to the father of Sara's child, the alleged father of Sara's child, as a potential person of interest, in my opinion. So I don't understand why he's not in the opinion of the Marion County Sheriffs, and they're obviously not going to tell us why they don't believe he is. But the history of this case and the circumstances and the statistics that 85% of women are unalived by someone they know leads us to the conclusion that one of those 5 people were involved in what happened to Sara that night and know exactly what happened to her and where she is. And we just have to keep pushing our foot on the pedal, keep the gas on in the car and keep supporting Michelle, because you're not alone, Michelle. We care about you. We care about your plight. We care about your loss. And we now care about Sara because of you and her daughter. So we're going to consider it a priority of Social Change Warriors now to continue to look for ways to get Florida to pay more attention to this case. Nancy Grace gave us a national platform and a world platform, but we need Florida to be more interested in this demise of this young mother. She was a Floridian. She's a community member. And we need all of you to be more outspoken and share her missing poster and speak about this case. So we'll be back next Wednesday, and hopefully Karen will rejoin us. And I have more to share with you that Michelle has shared with me in the past, and that Karen has more to share with you. And I also want to show the interviews that the prior PI shared. And I also have met someone new this week. They are a podcast out of Flagler, and they work with other content creators in Florida. And I've been invited on a podcast of a local private investigator who works up in Jacksonville, and his partner is a former homicide detective. And they are interested in learning more about Sara and her missing persons case. So I'll be letting you know when I'll be going on their podcast. Hopefully it'll be in the next couple weeks. And I'm grateful to Will and his partner, and also to the Flagler podcast folks on Facebook for supporting me in my advocacy for Sara and for our other victims of domestic violence, homicide, and for the missing that we support. So thank you very much to everyone to join us tonight. Hi, Karen. I'm just kind of saying my farewells. You're fine. You're fine. I'm just saying my farewells and letting everyone know that I'll be back next Wednesday with more on Sara's case. And I recently was able to connect with a private investigator from Jacksonville who is partnered with a former homicide detective. They both have a combined over 60 years of experience. And I'll be hopefully going on their podcast in the next couple of weeks, sharing Sara's missing persons case and getting their opinion and hopefully their help. And I'll keep you posted on that.
And don't forget MarionFlorida.org.
Yes, everyone. Let me put that up again, and we'll share that again next week. And I'm going to make some phone calls tomorrow and Friday to some more people.
Reassign a new detective. I think we should all just ask the same question. Please reassign a new detective.
Yes, yes. Or as someone else posted, I think that was Virginia Dare. Thank you, Virginia. Declare this a Marion County cold case, which they are able to do. And then Florida law can come in and take over, or ask them to take over, ask them for help. Why have you not done that already? If you're obviously stuck, you're stuck right now. And it's very obvious by all the experts that came on Nancy Grace and by everybody that's been following this case in Florida and surrounding areas, that they are at an impasse right now. And it's time to make a change here for Michelle and for Sara and for Cora. So again, thank you to Virginia, Brittany, Screaming Daisies. Thank you, Karen. Thank you to all of my subscribers who watch us on the replay, and all of my friends, Kathy, Shauna, Julie, and many of you that are here with me on Wednesdays, some Thursdays, and every Friday. I so appreciate your advocacy for the victims of domestic violence and victims of homicide who have no justice, and their families struggling to get that justice. It's very important that we bond together as a community and stick together. So Karen, I'll look forward to hopefully speaking with you again next Wednesday if you can make it. Those of you that were with us tonight, please join us next Wednesday. We'll continue our discussion. I'll also have some more updates for you next week on Ellen Greenberg, who was unalived in Philadelphia in 2011. Her case was originally ruled a homicide, but then it was changed in a very nefarious manner, very, very unusual manner by the ME to a unaliving of herself, 20 stab wounds. and has remained that way all these years while her parents fought for justice. They do believe that she was unalived by her then fiance, and based on all the evidence and all of the police reports that we did get to see, there was literally no police investigation. They cleaned the apartment before they could do a crime scene. They treated Ellen like she'd never existed. It's a travesty, and now we're still waiting for them to have the new Emmy look at this case and hopefully overturn it back to a homicide and reopen this case. We're also looking at Suzanne Morphew. Barry was recently rearrested a second time. Now they have more evidence, so we'll be giving you updates on that. And also on Sandra Birchmore, there is a hearing coming up for Matthew Farwell, who we believed staged Sandra's unaliving to make it look like she took her own life when he indeed unalived her himself. And there are other Stoughton police officers involved in what was the grooming and disgusting, horrible treatment of Sandra Birchmore during her very young, short life and her unborn child. So we'll give you updates on all of those cases involving these beautiful humans and their families' fight for justice next week. Tomorrow night, I'll be back with Brittany, who's been with us tonight, telling you the rest of the story on Deshaun Hudson, who was unalived, shot 14 times in a Applebee's in a suburb of Orlando near the Villages. And there has been no justice for Deshaun. That was stated as a Florida Stand Your Ground case, which it never went to trial. So it can't be a case if it didn't go to trial. The person was never arrested. They were never allowed to hire a lawyer and fight for Florida Stand Your Ground. They just assumed that it would be Florida Stand Your Ground, and they chose not to arrest this person. How in the world do you shoot someone 14 times and get no consequences for this in our country?
That's Florida. That's
Absolutely a travesty, Karen. It's a travesty because that person, in my opinion, is dangerous. If they don't know how to control themselves with a Florida permit to carry concealed, and somebody's going to piss you off because they flirted with your girlfriend at another bar, and you're going to follow them to the Applebee's, and you're going to shoot them 14 times, and then you're going to claim you thought they had a gun, but yet you never saw a gun. There was never a gun found on Deshaun when he was taken to the in the ambulance. Then you need to pay some consequences for that. And now you're out there walking around carrying concealed. How do I know that I'm not going to piss you off if I run into you in a bar one night, if I say something about you that you don't like, or if someone else does? You have a trigger finger that is very dangerous if you're going to shoot a total stranger 14 times with no proof that that person was a threat to you. And law enforcement is going to back that up because Florida has this ridiculous stand your ground law that is completely out of control. There has to be legislation. The community has to look into this. We can't just allow people to shoot other people because they think they're a threat, because they think they might have a gun. Police can't even do that. Police cannot excel the continuum of force option. So how is it that a random stranger that you meet who's carrying concealed can excel a force continuum when they're not a licensed law enforcement officer? It's utterly egregious, and it needs to be looked at by legislation, by Congress, by Senate in the state of Florida. So we'll be talking more about that tomorrow night. Whether you agree or don't agree with my opinion on Stand Your Ground, you're welcome. Whether you agree or you don't agree with my opinion on Florida's carry concealed, you are welcome. We'll be having this discussion tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern with the dear friend of Deshaun Watson, Brittany Dwyer. Thank you, everyone, again. Rest in peace, Deshaun, and rest in peace to all of our victims that we are advocating for here at Social Change Warriors. And let's find Sara Ebersole. Please, we need your help, Florida. We need your help, Ocala, Volusia, Brevard, Jacksonville area, Gainesville. We need your help.
And ask them to bring in the FBI or someone else to help with this cold case.
Absolutely. And
Let's do
Marion,
that.
it's MarionFL.org. That's MarionFL.org. fl.org. And I'll put that on the replay in the chat box as well. And I'll also put it on both my Twitter and my Facebook. And we'll repeat the information as well next Wednesday.
And there's a link on there that you can click, and it just will email all 5 of them so that you don't have to do them separately. So
great. Thank you, Karen. And thank you, Karen, for everything that you do to support Michelle. I know she's so grateful for you from what she's told me. And thank you to everyone for supporting Michelle. And thank you to Sarah's soldiers. And remember, if you're at the beach or a lake and you have a shell or a rock, please write hashtag Sara Ebersole on it and share it out with the world so everybody can learn about Sarah's case. Warriors don't give up, and they don't ever back down. So pick yourself up, get your sword, your metaphorical sword, and fight till the end. And that's what Sarah's soldiers will do. We will continue to fight for justice for Sara Ebersole. I will play out our theme song and put up photos of all of the victims and their families that we're standing for here at Social Change Warriors. And I will see some of you tomorrow night, and we'll also be back Friday night with our Friday Night Lies episode, continuing coverage of the fallout of the Karen Read trial and the justice for John O'Keefe, because John O'Keefe now is the second phase of the Karen Read debauchery. John O'Keefe needs justice. Someone knows what happened to him and why and how he was unalived in 2022. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate all of you. It's just us. Remember, all of your loved ones in heaven that have been unalived are shouting out to their perpetrators, "My life mattered."
They try to silence the truth we shout, but we're still here, we're still calling out. Corruption hides behind a badge and name. We light the fire, expose the shame. We're justice seekers, we'll fight the fight for every voice lost in the night. My life mattered is the cry we sing for the ones they tried to bury within. It's just us, we're a movement wide. Together we rise, won't run nor hide. The stories echo, the pain runs deep. For stolen lives we can't just weep. Elected power, but their hearts are cold. We'll bring the truth, let it be told. We're justice seekers, we'll fight the fight for every voice lost in the night. My life mattered is the cry we sing for the ones they tried to bury within. It's just us, we're a movement wide. Together we rise, won't run nor hide. We're justice seekers, we'll fight the fight for heal wounds, undo the harm. Calling out corruption, we'll stand tall for justice and truth, we'll risk it all. My life mattered is the cry we sing. Together we rise, let freedom ring. They try to silence the truth we shout, but we're still here, we're still calling out. Corruption hides behind a badge of name. We light the fire, expose the shame. We're justice seekers, we'll fight the fight for every voice lost in the night. My life matters is the cry we sing for the ones they tried to bury within. It's just us, we're a movement wide. Together we rise, won't run nor hide. The stories echo, the pain runs deep. For stolen lives we can't just weep. Elected power but their hearts are cold. We'll bring the truth, let it be told. We're justice seekers, we'll fight the fight for every voice lost in the night. My life mattered is the cry we sing for the ones they tried to bury within. It's just us, we're a movement wide. Together we rise, won't run nor hide. We're justice seekers, we'll fight the fight for heavy wounds, undo the harm. Calling out corruption, we'll stand tall for justice and truth, we'll risk it all. My life matters.